Good day to everybody present. My name is Corexia, and might I say, welcome to another episode, another podcast. And this time, I must just say, we have gone international. I'm not even joking. We have actually gone international because today we have somebody very reputed with us in the casters all around the world, as well as a player who's done, according to himself, he must have done quite well in India in Skyesports Masters. So today we have Suraj and Mr. TeaTime right here. Suraj, could you please introduce yourself to everybody?
Hi, I'm Suraj.
And that
I'm a
was a very
retired
good.
Counter-Strike professional. I'm just messing with you guys. So yeah, I'm Suraj. I used to be the IGL for Reckoning Esports, and before that Redemptions, and couple more orgs in between. But yeah, uh, I'm now retired, and whenever I find time, I get on podcasts and do interviews. So that's going well, I guess.
You're enjoying the content creator life. That means welcome.
I'm trying to get into it. You know, who knows? Maybe that's a future path. And
You never
let's
know.
see.
I don't think so.
That's see that dil pe, huh? Okay, we got the rivalry already, huh?
No,
When
no,
our
you're
next
gonna be a
guest is
great, you're gonna
leaving.
be a great, you're gonna be a great commentator. You know, that's what you'll be. You're gonna
Thanks,
commentate
man.
all the Indian Counter Strike.
Okay.
And
No thanks,
talking
man.
about commentators, beside me we have Mr. Tea Time. Could you please introduce yourself? Because I know, for matter of fact, many people outside India know you, but in India we're not given opportunities. So please do the
Wow, you
needful.
just said you just called me a no-namer. Like the first thing he does introduce me is calling me a
Deserved.
no-namer. Yeah, I mean, fair
Deserved.
enough. Like I'm not like if somehow I chose the one game where I'm not even the most famous South Asian commentator in the world. Blair went and got that one instead of me. But I just I'm going to be doing the analysis on the grand finals of IM Sydney, and now I'm on a podcast with Suraj and Reiko.
Oh, whoa, 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 whoa! Don't call me out like that, okay? That was uncalled for, alright?
I'm sorry. Did you qualify for IM
Uh,
anything?
I played ESL Challenger League season 40. That's all I
You
know.
Which
guys
year? When
forfeit
was
that.
this?
I remember
When was
that.
this
We
again?
forfeit that because of personal issues. We don't talk about those. All this. COVID was a tough time, alright? To this guy, dude. I don't know.
Anyway, that's what I am. I also talk about like business stuff on Twitter for some reason. No one listens to me, but I say things and then 3 years later they become true, and I say, "Wow, look at how true I was," and then everyone's just like, "Shut the fuck up, you boomer." So yeah.
I mean, amen. If you can make predictions, that's all that matters. I mean, it just was hindsight, and Suraj just immediately lost it. He's wondering what has happened.
I just I just process the whole sentence. I was like, dude, this is so fun. I do business predictions on Twitter, and 3 years later they come true. Like,
This
pissed
is
off.
Wait, could you tell me something that you actually predicted? Like, okay, let me just get over here. What did you predict that actually came through? Or true?
COVID.
um
No? Okay.
I didn't predict COVID. That was Bill Gates actually. That was Bill Gates,
Bill
not
Gates.
me.
To be fair, yeah.
No.
You never know,
So
man. I haven't
Valorant.
seen you and Bill Gates in the same room, to be fair.
This is true, but I am like 4 feet taller than him, so there is that to consider. No, so Valorant's like entire trajectory within India and Pakistan and South Asia, I sort of predicted a lot of that. Valorant's trajectory in North America, predicted a lot of that as well. I mean, I did a generally pretty good job with predicting most of Valorant circuit and how it'll work. Um, Outside of that, within Counter Strike, I had a pretty decent idea about like the consolidation. I mean, in all fairness, I didn't say this publicly because I actually had insider info on this at the time, but I had a good idea about like the ESL Faceit consolidation that was going to happen and stuff like that. Yeah, I've been pretty accurate generally.
And that's nice to know. Somebody who can predict
He's
stuff.
not.
I mean, I
He's called
literally,
tea time for a reason.
yeah, exactly.
He has
The
all the
only
tea.
thing, the only thing I predicted till now was only telling like, yeah, Valorant is gonna die. That was the only thing which I told because I was like, there's no tier two. That's impossible. Y'all are. It's fine. We're not talking about Valorant because today's episode is all about Counter Strike. And after
But
IEM Sydney just
CS2
got
players and they're doing that.
after IMCD just got done, a amazing game to watch. I mean, to be honest, it was quite the interesting game with overtimes and the crowd. Okay, this might be realizing you might realize now how much of a noob I am in this because I came to know today that there's something known as caches, which is like the ashes of Counter Strike. And I was losing my marbles today in the morning, laughing my heart out, being like, "Yep, this is very nice." And I saw chickens, and I'm like, "What is happening over here?" But yeah, T-Time, I want to ask you this, and I want to start off over here. CS2 has come out. How are your views about it on the gameplay side of things, as well as the Michael Jackson slide, the peak, and everything else?
Look, Mechanics and netcode are going to be fixed and worked out to a large extent, in my opinion. Obviously, there will be certain mechanics that will be very different. Just crucially, I hate MR12. I think it's really bad. I think it doesn't address any of the crucial sort of problems of how long matches are. I don't actually think MR12 would reduce match times in a significant way or in a good way. There's better ways of doing that, which unfortunately were not exercised. But that gets into things that are just like maths and technical. And like, listen, I don't want to bore you with that. If you didn't know we
No,
had
please,
chickens in
please do. This
Counter-Strike,
is
how am I
all
going to
about
tell
the
you
no.
about the difference between 145 and 155 round timers in 2015 and 2023, right?
No, I mean, you should tell all of that because this is all our information. This is going to be the most geekiest podcast one has ever heard, and I've informed that to everybody. That when
Okay, great. So no one's watching it. Okay.
I mean, to be,
I mean,
it
dude, come
is
on.
what is it. We
You're
are
the
for the
nerd of the
niche.
books and shit. You got a cabinet full of books out there, man. I
Yeah,
mean, look at
exactly.
me. I got stuff packed up, ready to move out, dude.
Yeah. Ready to move
That's
out
all
of
my
esports.
CS
That's
stuff
what's
in there,
going on.
okay? That's all my CS stuff in there. That's all I'm saying.
I see it's also got your trophies with how small that box is.
Oh God, God.
You know what? All my trophies are online. Yeah,
I'm happy for you.
it's
Yeah.
okay. Copium's a strong thing. It's good. Yeah.
Exactly,
Anyway,
but yeah, like you were saying.
no, so sort of to get back to the economy point, the issue with Counter-Strike is still the same, which is that the quality of gun rounds is, in my opinion, lower than they used to be once upon a time because there were fewer gun rounds in comparison to like half buys and ecos and things like that because of hard resets that existed. The problem with hard resets back then was that you can just win one round, lose one round, and then your entire game is screwed because when you win the one round, you're probably keeping one or two players alive as CT side, even as T side if you're just winning the round without getting, a couple of extra kills. So you're not going to have like a proper full buy. There's ways to incentivize, ways to make it so that the gun round after that is at least a fair round, because the problem is if you are coming back from behind in the old meta, so if you're 5-0 down, you win a gun round with like one or two players kept alive, you have a disadvantage when you're 1-5 because the other team has economy, they will have a full buy, you don't have a full buy. So it's just an unfair round. It's just a very it's an overwhelming advantage, which I don't think that should exist in Counter-Strike. So in my opinion, the fix to that was always something like implementing either a diffusal bonus. So for example, the CT side is diffusing the bomb, they just get $1,000 extra across the board. So they will guaranteed have a gun round in the next round no matter what happens. Or if you're not implementing that, maybe it's like a one player live bonus, right? So if one player is alive or two players are alive or something like that, maybe you give like an extra $300 to $400 just for the round that breaks a streak. Basically a streak breaking round.
Okay.
You should get like a cash bonus in my opinion. Also remove $1,400 and then you've got yourself like a very good overall buy that you're going to have, and you can basically chain successive gun rounds together. And then if you lose a gun round after that, I think it's only fair for you to be reset. I think that's great. I think stomps are very good to have. I think you should have stomps in a game. I think anyone who's watched basketball, anyone who's watched even like football, to some extent football is obviously a lower frequency of scoring. Anyone who's watched like cricket, I mean, Pakistan India just happened like a while back.
Yeah.
India destroyed Pakistan. Stomps are entertaining. I think that's good. I hate cricket anyway, so it's fine. So Rich, you can have that one.
Yes. You know what? You can go.
No, so but the point is, stomps are good. I think it's a good thing to have that. It reduces average match time as well. It also makes like close games more epic. But now every game is a close game. It doesn't matter if it's MR12. You're still seeing games go to overtime constantly. You're still seeing like 13-9s, 13-10s. You win one gun round, one like pistol round plus one gun round, you're getting like half of the game back. The tactical depth is lower. There are so many issues with MR12. It's hard to even get into it. But I think the easiest way to summarize this is just look at the match that just happened, the grand finals with like complexity versus phase. Look at the first map. It was 13-11. Everyone wants that to be a 16-14 at least. Everyone wants there to be more creativity. The best matches of Counter-Strike across all history will now not have happened because there won't be the same creativity. And yes, you can have overtime on overtime, but if you're having that anyway, what's the point? Right? Like, why are you going to MR12 in the first place? So I would much rather have a game where like there are more stompy matches, but there's more room for creativity and adaptation, and lower average times by reducing like total round time maybe, right? So we used to have round time of 1 minute and 45 seconds. Smoke timers were I think about 17 seconds total. Now they're about 21 seconds total. Actually, I don't know about CS2, but in CSGO they were 21 seconds total, including the dissipation time. Right, so like there's ways to lower the round timer overall, which you do not have to sacrifice the entirety of the game for that.
I mean, wow, that was quite a lot of information at once for me to understand. But I mean, I get it where you're coming from about MR13. And for me, somebody who has played 1.6, I was used to MR13 and I didn't play that much of CSGO. But as a retired professional with us, I would just like to ask for you, having seen this change from MR16 to MR13, is it quite a lot of difference for you? Or it's just like, you know what, okay, fine, they just want game time to be a bit shorter, make it a bit more crisp, have a bit more excitement? How do you feel, Suraj?
I mean, from an overall POV, I kind of agree with what he has to say because there's not a lot of excitement, right? The games are much shorter. There's not a lot of tactical depth anymore involved. It's not like, I mean, when you go to overtimes, one overtimes, two overtimes, and things like that, on an MR15 game, it's like, okay, it's no, the overtimes are no longer about like your tactics are gone out the window, and it's like who can call back the most number of set rounds or rounds that you've played in the past, right? And if it's possible for you to replicate them in those situations, right? And that's not something we're going to see anytime soon with like the 13 round thing. But at the same time, as a player who as a player with like for me, like as a player who always chokes towards the end, like we get to 14 and then choke, start losing, we get to 15 and then choke and start losing, and like, you know what, let it be at 13, I'll get to 13 first anyways. So I'll get my team to 13 first. But like, I mean, to be fair, it's not good, dude. Like, I don't all the games are so close nowadays, like you said, like the frequency of games being close nowadays are
Yeah,
so high. There's no stompings at all. There's no like I mean, we've seen 113-0 which was
just
like
recently.
today in like in the Indian
Yesterday.
scene in the
Yeah.
Geo
Yeah,
tournament as well, and another 13-0 which happened a couple days back as well, right? I mean, like, we've these are not like very common now. And I mean, I'd like to see like an Astralis era kind of domination, like where everyone's just getting shit on, right? You know, every time a team like that plays, it's like so tactically sound and everyone's all on the same page. Like, it's nuclear. Like, it's insane. You're gonna have
And
to work really hard to break it down.
And
Yeah,
to
yeah.
be fair, like, there were very close games in CSGO as well towards the end of it because there was so much saving going on. There was so much like economy min maxing, but that's a problem with the economy. That's not a problem with, uh, MR15 or MR12. If your goal was to have shorter game times, or if your goal was to have like less close matches, if you think that MR12 is going to have that, that's just not the case. Um, because even in CS:GO, one of the reasons why game time became so long was because, like, I think in every single game that I casted on European Counter Strike at least, so not in Indian CS, because obviously Indian CS is not quite at the same level, even off the top
or
of
not
Asia.
existing at all.
Um, no, that's not true. India's got like money, but yeah,
That's nice.
no. So,
Very rich.
but in Europe, there's a lot of rounds which I casted, which are like, hey, they've got three deagles, they're stacked onto a side, two deagles on the other side die, and it's a half buy, and they say, you know what, next round we're gonna eco anyway, we're gonna save these three deagles. It's the most boring Counter Strike to cast. It's the most boring Counter Strike to watch, where I know that a guaranteed 2 minutes and 15 seconds will go by, maybe even up to 2 minutes and 30 seconds if the full bomb duration is allowed to sort of extend as well. It's just 2.5 minutes of jack shit happening. It's the most boring Counter Strike in the world on an esports level,
Hmm.
and that was terrible. And if that's happening twice a game, that's 5 minutes per match. Like, that's just an extra 5 minutes that are useless. 5 minutes out of 50, you're literally looking at 10% or 15% of the entirety of like a match's duration. And then you add in like timeouts and things like that. It's just so much time where it didn't feel like it mattered. So those were the things that you need to cut out. Those don't have tactical place in Counter Strike. Those don't have tactical depth in CS. Like, that's what you need to cut out. That's a meat, right? You don't want to cut out the holy shit. Like, someone's like, even where Suraj is like joking about joking on 14.
Yeah.
That those are still epic matches, right? Like, those are epic matches when you watch them happen, and also like when teams finally overcome that. That's epic. When like choking teams are like finally come out and win, that's so cool to see. That's one of the most legendary storylines. You look at Astralis, you look at FaZe, you look at Carrigan's career, you look at Nico winning out IEM Katowice and Cologne, right? These
Whole of
guys are
TSM
people.
back in the day, dude. Like, whole of
Yeah,
TSM.
yeah.
Every
Right. So
single
these are
player on there.
these are people who now, even if you say, hey, well, you can still choke, whatever, it's not as epic. It will
That's
never
true.
be as epic when you inherently can lose a half by one pistol round and two gun rounds. 3 rounds should not decide the fate of a half. That's just the truth of Counter Strike.
I just want
That's
to
the macro
ask
part of it,
this.
and the micro part of it is also like the hero AK metas, right? Like, dude,
Mm,
it's so bloody annoying, the hero AK meta. Like, it's like you just get one guy on an AK and like
It
you
destroys
drop
your
him a
economy.
decoy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's crazy. Like, if you're trying to play smart and you want to hear the sound and play and they're cutting sound everywhere, you hear a AK sound and someone just on your team goes, ah, they bought. It's like, ah, okay, did they actually buy? Did they not buy? Like, are we gonna push this? Like, and then the whole plan goes out the window, right? So like certain times on an anti-eco, my players are like, guys, we want to push, right? We want to play aggro. They don't have guns. Like, we have better guns. Let's just destroy them on CT. And then there's that one guy with an AK standing over there aiming at us, and we're like, dude, piss off. Like that's and then we get gift two guns and he's just Rambo. The whole team's Rambo now. Like dude, like we can't do anything about it. So even on anti-ecos we gotta play respectful and we gotta play from behind. And then that keeps dragging on out. And if the AK if it's someone like Nico or like they get lucky for some reason, like because it's Counter Strike, right? You can tap at any moment. If that happens, then you're screwed again, right? The other three guys have to save because of the whole economy situation. So it's all tied down together, and
Can this be
that's
fixed?
the
Like,
key,
just
man.
asking, after y'all are going on about this, and I just wonder why you're like, I haven't, like, for somebody who has been writing about Valorant so much, I've never heard about the economy being so detailedly crucified and criticized.
In
But can this be,
Valorant is just garbage.
Yeah,
I
cause,
just,
cause you have ults. Like, who cares? Like,
yeah,
Jet's
Yeah.
gonna have a hero AK anyways.
yeah,
Like, it's what, five
Okay.
kills, kills.
I am joking about Valorant as being garbage. Valorant is not terrible, but the issue with Valorant is basically in economy.
Nah, I
Um,
disagree.
it was made to be it was made to be easily accessible for everyone. Like so, Valorant
okay,
has got a very specific system, which and Valorant doesn't have a history of having a different economy, right? So for
yeah,
Valorant people, you haven't seen anything better, to be frank. In the same way, where like if you look over towards like League of Legends, the World Championship it has a different format this year for the first time. It's a Swiss stage similar to how Counter Strike has it. And everyone's really excited because that's much better than the old, terrible format they used to have, which was 4-team best of one group stages,
yeah,
GSL double elimination. Um, but the thing is, even though that's better than what they had before, that's still worse than every other format that we've had in Counter Strike and in like other games for non-major events. So like you look at TI's got an incredible format, but the issue is that League of Legends players who haven't seen these other games and other esports, they don't know what's there for them. So even in Valorant, a lot of these things could be so much cooler, but
yeah,
the complexity has never been seen because the game was created with a lower skill ceiling to in the very beginning, not in terms of aim, because I do think Valorant has some incredible aimers, but a skill ceiling in terms of things like annoying decisions that you have to make about buying, annoying decisions that you have to make
yeah.
around your ultis, even things like that. So yeah, that's why Valorant's very different in that regards.
No, I just wanted to know because the economy over here, I just wanted to ask, like, so is this something that can be fixed? Like the economy, like if can, like, just asking you, can this
Easy.
like
I have a
issues
really crazy idea. Okay, I don't know what Maman's gonna spit, but I have a really crazy idea.
go for it?
Make it 21 rounds. First to 21 rounds wins the game. Like, dude, make it like a badminton game. I'm all down for it. More longer games. The BO3s are gonna be like BO5s. No one's gonna complain.
Who's gonna watch? I'm wondering, oh yeah, people will. Are you sure people are gonna watch that? Like a 20, like
Well,
21, best of 21. You can
there
have
are
a
people
possibility of
who watch people play pool. Okay, you can watch 21 rounds of Counter Strike. That's all I'm saying. To be
I don't
fair,
think so. One
I
second,
mean,
wait. A
this
round
is
of
also coming
badminton
from a
doesn't take.
personal POV. This is
One second.
also
A
coming from a
badminton
personal
round doesn't
POV.
take 2 minutes per serve, if I'm correct. Even tennis doesn't take 2 minutes per serve to like go to like
You're
20.
just comparing apples to oranges, okay?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was like wondering, like, what is he on about? Because even in table
Nah,
tennis, it's not like it's gonna go like for 2 minutes. You're going back and forth, ping pong. There's a rally over there, but
I
just
mean, like,
curious.
to
I
be
just
fair,
find it
like,
funny. Sorry, I just find it funny that Draco's like knowledge of sports is just like he starts off with badminton, which has the longest like point times of everything. Then he goes to tennis, which is shorter
exactly.
than badminton.
Like,
Then he goes to table tennis, which is shortest point time of all. Like all of his examples,
have you
he's just
ever seen a
successively
rally?
worse. No,
I
table
have played.
tennis doesn't do.
I mean, I've
Table
Have you
played
tennis
ever
table
doesn't
seen a
have.
tennis,
rally?
so
Yes, I have, but table tennis doesn't have like 1 minute long point span, except for like
yeah,
really, really good ones. But yeah.
Hey man, all I'm saying is I played state level table tennis, alright? So I kind of
same
know
here,
what I'm talking about.
same
You
here.
did?
Yeah,
Dude, we're good.
Listen, I've never lost in table tennis in an esports competition. That's all I'm gonna say.
At an esports comp.
esports competition. But
Sorry,
I
I'm
Man,
mean,
sorry. Listen, Suraj, I would have
man,
beaten you if you could actually get to any esports competitions, but whatever.
yeah, you know what? You know what? I'll let it slide. It's okay. It's okay.
I mean,
It's
yeah, we
okay.
were talking.
It's okay.
I mean,
I'll
Suraj,
get you when I'll get you back later.
I mean,
I
Suraj,
don't have
you
anything
did
running
bring
on my
up
mind right now.
you did bring up a good point for me to go on to, and that's one thing about the fans. I mean, the fans is one thing which I want to call out here because they have been incredible. For somebody who's into football massively, you see the crowds going bonkers in football, the tifos and everything. And I saw during the blast majors, tifos and everything, and I was like, what is happening over here? Now, it was amazing to watch. I mean, and in Sydney, it didn't stop. It just increased. There was more and more. It was like the fans are a part of the event. And I think so that integration
EU
has been.
crowd has always been amazing. Australian crowd, like IEM Sydney, like I've been ever since like 2018, 2017. Like IEM Sydney was probably one of the major tournaments that I saw. Major, not in as in major, but like one of the most impactful tournaments for me, because that's when I actually started getting into Counter Strike
Okay.
as an esport, and thinking that okay, I need to play this game. I want to get better at it and stuff like that, right? And the
Yeah.
crowd has been amazing. They're funny. They have shoeies going on in between, and I kind of have a bias now also because I've made a couple Australian friends, and I'm like, you know what, dude, it's amazing. And crowd wise, like, I mean, I'd love to play on a LAN with like a huge crowd one day, or hopefully stand behind and watch it as well, right? But one day, that's a dream.
How about you, T? Do you enjoy it? Like the
No, of course I do.
atmosphere?
Look, listen, Counter Strike is just another reason why I don't like Valorant is because Valorant has huge fan bases.
Yeah.
Okay, like they do. Valorant has same with League of Legends. They have massive fan bases. They have a lot of viewership, but they don't do events like this. They want to run leagues. They want to do like franchise leagues instead of like tournament circuits. And with that, it's just never gonna have the same sort of crowd. Like in CS, I think we probably have a crowd like this. Sydney's very good. Don't get me wrong, but Sydney, Cologne, Katowice, Blast Spring Final, Blast Fall Final. Uh, Dallas isn't that big, but sort of Dallas. Rio's there as well. Both majors, right? So you're looking at literally 10 events a year which have a crowd like this.
Brazilian crowd's also really, really good. Like,
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
rowdy.
except for the cheating, but yeah.
It's rowdy. That's a nice note to put it. But yeah, we like those. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that.
I mean,
I
There's
mean,
after
come
what
nothing
I,
on,
wrong
dude.
with cheating, but yeah.
We both live in countries where like cricket is like the hugest, biggest thing over
I
there. And then like,
Suraj, I
have you
went for
ever been to a cricket
BGIS.
match?
I
I
Sorry?
mean,
mean,
obviously we have. I mean, have you been to a cricket match, Steve?
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It's a
like
good time.
the crowd's rowdy as well, right? So I mean, I don't think
Yeah.
we
No,
can get
rowdy
off
is not the
calling.
same thing as cheating. No, 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 no. Listen, the Brazilian fans and Danish fans 100% cheat. There's just
I'm all
nothing
for
about
it,
it.
man. I'm all for it. Home ground advantage, dude. Like
Home ground
that
advantage
has
is not the same as
has been home
cheating and
ground.
saying, "Oh, look behind you, turn around, turn around, turn around." That's not
Like,
the same thing.
it's
No,
okay.
no, it's
It's
not.
okay. Let me get to
No.
16, okay?
Let you get
भाई
to a
पीछे
stadium. Let you get to a
देख.
crowd.
I'll get there one day. I'll get there one day.
I mean, I mean,
Like even in Suraj's dreams, the only way he wins a stadium match is by cheating. Wow.
oh my
It's
god.
it's not cheating. Oh, dude, you know what? Let me tag some Brazilian guys, dude. And I need some
Go
backup,
for it.
okay? Real quick.
I
Toril,
mean,
yeah. Block people, yeah.
the thing is, you told Rowdy, and it reminded me of BGIS because simply over there were like 10,000 people running, and there was a stampede caused outside. So when you said we are from, like, we just had a stampede, I was like, I don't know if we should be talking about it, but because there it is bonkers. I mean, that's mobile gaming in itself, and that's India. But I mean, we talk about the regions, and this is something which I want to get into, which I want to learn more about, is the Pakistan scene for CS. We have seen people like, for me, I think so. For me, what I've read about is all about, I've heard about Pokemon, and after that, there's not much information for me which I've been able to gather. But could you let us know more about the scene and how is it growing? Because I know, for matter of fact, Tekken is the biggest game that there is after all the gaming parlors, having the circuits and having the situation where it's like the winner pays for the loser pays, in short, the winner goes free and the loser pays, and them having the entire structure done up. Are we seeing like another ecosystem being built up over there for CS as well?
No, not at all. CS is going down for Pakistan. It's not going up. The Pakistani Counter Strike scene was very good back in 2016, 15, 17, maybe a little bit in 18. I would argue that they were like the Pakistani scene was much stronger than the Indian scene.
Okay.
Despite having fewer tournaments and everything, we just had like more players, to be honest, and
Hmm.
more like high level players. Uh, the issue is that most of those people went to Valorant because Riot did the Just Cups and then they never came back. And and they probably won't. You grow up. But when you leave a scene, you also take away the chances of like sort of raising the next level of talent and everything. So even though there's a lot of people now who are good, like I would argue that there's probably I think you could probably make three good teams from Pakistan, which would be competitive with the top three teams of India. Maybe better. I don't know about that because I haven't seen India play like ESEA leagues recently because for some
Yep.
reason none of the Skyesports team want to register in like actual tournaments for Asia and become better, which is like whatever. That's I don't know why they didn't do it. I was very tilted about that. The only team that registered was Medal, and then they disbanded. Literally, Medal had their first match against us, and we just show up like, yes, we're gonna beat these guys. It's gonna be so much fun. And good old Pakistan-India rivalry. And the first message we get is from Medal. I think Rossi is in Medal or whoever was in Medal. Just like we forfeit the match. I was like, what is this? Why are we? We've been so hyped for this. But
My
yeah.
God. I mean, so
The funny part is he did an Indian accent.
No, I'm Pakistani. That's a Pakistani accent.
Exactly, dude. You have to do it.
I mean,
That's my accent.
Dude, I don't care about the ESL league anymore. You can go on a spiral about it. I want someone to clip this, dude. This is gonna be my ringtone. No, we forfeit.
That is my accent. What do you mean?
it's like the Desi just came out of him out of nowhere.
Anywhere close to that, dude. Jesus.
No, I have a fake accent for broadcast anyway. I
Yeah,
slip back
no,
into
no
this
wonder
accent.
Indian Hawks don't invite you to cast to Indian tournaments. Yeah, shots fired. Let's go. I got my comeback. I don't have trophies. You don't have your Indian tournaments to host, huh?
Oh God.
Oh no.
Oh no. Yeah, I like how they're
So
having
I'm
a
going down. I'm taking everybody with me. Dude. Let's go.
yeah, we are the Titanic back again. But no, I mean, I wanted to ask this because so you feel like right now, because of how it's working, there isn't a scope for improvement because we could be seeing events that could be taking place in other places in Asia where I think so Pakistani players are.
So sorry, there's absolutely scope for improvement. The problem is that for Pakistani players, much like Indian players, from what I understand, I don't know all of the Indian players anymore, but from what I understand, they're lazy.
Hi.
Yep.
And look, I don't want to speak about this because I'm sure Suraj can maybe talk more on it. But for example, even look at my team, right? My team, we played the SEA leagues last season. We were probably like put it this way, we would have probably come top two pretty easily if we just like played. But then randomly, just like halfway through the season, Sky announced their like
Souvenir.
like Sky, Souvenir. Yeah, Souvenir got leaked. It didn't get
Yeah.
announced. And initially, what was leaked was, and I don't know if this is true. Or if it is true, then I don't know if I can say it's true. But initially, what was announced, what was leaked was that it's going to be a $25,000 tournament. It's going to be LAN in Sri Lanka, and there's going to be like Pakistan qualifiers and everything. And everyone's really excited. So the problem that came in was that some of the Indian orgs, I won't name names, they came and tried to snipe some of our players, which is cool. That's whatever. But then because that split the team apart, the team also they didn't even get to play in the end because Baba just got invited directly. But that split the team apart because like some of their players were getting invited and they weren't, and they all just got tilted. Everyone just stopped playing Counter-Strike completely for 2-3 weeks. We were guaranteed into playoffs regardless. So for context, the way ESEA League works is that there are 12 matches. You generally, if you're like at 8 wins or something, you're guaranteed playoffs. And I think we were at 8 wins. We're guaranteed playoffs, but then everyone just stopped playing. And even after they didn't get like Souvenir invites, everyone's just like, whatever, man, I don't have motivation, this and that. These players lose motivation at the worst possible times. I mean, even look at, people like Medal disbanded.
Yeah.
Medal, again, you are playing in the Sky League. I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but whatever it is, they went, 2-12, I think, something like that. Yeah, 2-12, right? They're not that bad. They're just clearly internally exploded. I'm not saying that they're better than anyone else, but like they probably should have gotten a couple more map wins. They probably should have like had, but it's clear that these players just stopped trying. And at that point, they were like, okay, well, I can't hold your hand and tell you how to click. If I could, I'd just do it myself, right? So there's that. So unfortunately, Pakistani players, Indian players are all quite lazy because you can say that because there isn't a circuit, because this, because that, but frankly, laziness is laziness. That's what it is.
I mean, Suraj, I will bring you in on this because I want to know something over here. This is something which was told to me by somebody. I'm not going to name them, but it was in short, not told per se. I'm so sorry. My throat is just going for a toss. But the point is this. Okay, actually, I'll spill it. Ankit Punk is Venom. In short, somebody who has been in, who was previously one of the better players in India in CS:GO or CS:GO, if I'm correct.
Mhm.
When I had a discussion with him, he told us even on his live stream about how there are players now shifting to CS2 because there is going to be more opportunities. More opportunity not to get better, more opportunities to make more money. And this mentality of like we are going behind money. When people are like, oh, I'm a fan of CS, it's my first love. I'm always going to go back to it. It's like Ronaldo going back to Manchester United. Like, ah, yeah, I like the team. It's not because nobody else wanted him. But the point being over here is this motivation for money is increasing. In another episode, we discussed about the inflation in Indian salaries for Valorant in any other esport. And in CS right now, with a new game, with new events happening, do you feel this is again going to happen where we're going to see players get a little bit less motivated by getting to get better and more motivated by if there's more money on the table?
This is such a loaded question, dude. But there's only one simple answer. Like, winners are gonna win. It doesn't matter the
Yeah.
situation. It's just that. Uh, People who are interested and want to win, they're gonna make it happen no matter the situation. Like, I mean, yeah, like you can quote excuses like money. You can say that okay, fine. Opportunities are better. I mean, work another job. Like, get a job to support your ends if you're really interested about it. It also depends on what quality of life you want to live, right? Do you wanna? I mean, this is gonna sound very high coming from me, but then it's like what quality of life do you want for the next 10 years? You want to slog and then you want to go to Europe and become one of the best players, because that will happen if you do put in the effort, right? Or you just want to be like, nah, you know what, whatever the new thing or the hype comes up, I'm just going to switch in, and I'm just going to try to make bank and put a roof over my head, at the same time while also pursuing my passion, right? There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with either of these things, to be fair, in my opinion. Like, both are fine. Like, at the end of the day, the game's just a game. You still need to live in reality. You need to have a social life. You need to go meet friends, spend time with family, which are more important things in my opinion. But at the same time, if you have a goal and you have a passion to do it, you're gonna do it. And there are players who are doing it right now, right? Like, I mean, to name a few Indian players who I think have like popped off really, really well. One name that comes off to my mind instantly
Revan?
is like Revan,
Yeah.
two crazy gamer. Like, these two guys have been insanely good. And third is Bhavesh. Like, this
Hmm.
kid Bhavesh came out of nowhere, dude. Like, I've seen him on like TS a couple
Is
of
Bhavish
times.
the 7C one?
Yep, yep. He's
Bhavi? Okay.
playing. Yeah, Bhavi. He's
Okay.
he's giving some really good calls. His support's really good. The way he moves around the map right now as an IGL is really good. And like whenever I've seen games of him in the past, from like 2 3 years back, and to watching him play right now, it's like, dude, this took you 2 years, 3 years. This is crazy levels of improvement. And as far as opportunities are concerned for like CS players, if you want to get better, like the best thing to do is like, this is something I was previously quoting Mamun as well, right? Like, Mamun told me like a couple years back, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said that like, play with as many regions as possible and get better. Like, that's what Indian teams should be doing. And right now, Indian teams is like, they play within each other as a community, but they're very closely knit, which is good. But at the same time, if you want to improve, you got to play against the best, and you need to lose. The more you lose, the more you're gonna get better. And I don't see Indian teams playing, like you said, ESA leagues, or against Mongolian teams or Chinese teams, or playing any sort of those scrims. None of that stuff's happening, and it's disheartening. And the only way that's gonna happen is like, when you actually play good enough, and those players start noticing you, and then you play with them in like pugs, so you kind of get an understanding of like how they play, try to mimic them, right? You need to copy their cadence, you need to mimic their style, and like, that's how it's gonna work. And I don't see any of that happening right now, and it's kind of disheartening. But that being said, like, Sky Sports had a bunch of imports, right? Like, we had a lot of imported players in,
Yeah.
Russians in, and Australian players in, Malaysian, and which is pretty good, right? So feel like we're taking a step towards the right direction. But then once, like you said, medals disbanded. Most of the teams from Sky Sports that play
They
have like
have.
either revamped their rosters or like disbanded, and So that's gonna cause an issue moving down the line. It's like you take one step forward and then you take two steps back. It's like, dude, come on. Like
I
we
mean,
need to keep pushing back.
to be fair, I'll jump in over here. There is nothing wrong with the money angle. If you want to come in for money, go for it. It doesn't matter. People who
Hmm.
are going to be better will come and take the slot. This happens in every esport. This happens in every game. Look at Valorant for North America. These garbage Counter Strike pro players like went and joined like Valorant teams, and then you know what? You get taken out. Eventually, in a year and 2 years, you're not going to be there. If the scene is sustained, it's fine. It's not an issue. People will come up and people will be good. Um, the fact is, though, is that I just checked. Only God's Reign has registered for the ESEA League season, the
Oh
first CS2
wow.
one. That is despite the fact that 7 teams from open qualifiers will go forward to the ESL relegation for the Challenger League, which
It's
like
crazy.
5 or 6 teams will go
7 teams
forward.
is
By the way, yeah, 7 teams
seven
is
teams is
crazy.
crazy.
Like no joke. I could make a team which, as long as they don't like fight amongst themselves, even if we do not practice at all, even if we don't do anything, we'd make it to top 7. Right?
Wow.
Like it's just
That's not even a crazy statement to say. To be fair,
uh,
he's being completely honest and like, dude, it's that easy. It is that easy.
yeah. So it's just like, okay, so you guys clearly aren't serious, right? Like that's the big problem. It's not about money, this and that. It's just like, first of all, these orgs, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? You're an absolute joke if your team isn't playing in right. Like if your team isn't playing in the ESC league, you're a joke to me. A lot of these orgs were already a joke to me, considering the kind of imports that they actually went for, right? Like you have money, it's a 200, it's a massive league, everything. You're supposed to be generating revenue, you're supposed to be generating interest in the league as well. And who are you getting as imports? Like random no-name Malaysian players. Like what's going on over there? Why are your imports bottom fragging? Why are you getting like Russian players as imports who have never even played in ESL Challenger League? Because like Eastern Russian players, there's a lot of very good ones out there, but like why are you getting players who've never played in ECL? Right? What if that's the case? You could literally get an ESEA main European top player, and they would probably play better than those guys. This is just ridiculous. I know that a lot of these guys asked better players and then they were declined because those guys are just like, I've been told by some of the Australian players that they didn't want to come live in India, which is like, okay, cool, that's your choice. But a lot of people would, and I just think this is generally a pretty badly managed from all of the orgs overall. Yeah.
I mean, it leads me to this. Okay, so today there was an event in Mumbai, by the way. They had a CS2 event in a mall. Now, the mall had a lot of people watching. It was a nice event. People
Which
are
event is
enjoying.
it? Sorry, I'm just gonna look it up.
It's
This is
called
Geo.
Geo. It's Geo. The company is now trying to get into esports. So this is something which has been told to me that Geo is now going to get into esports. They're trying to have multiple lands around India, and like the price
Like the
pool is like,
Reliance Digital Level Up.
yep.
Exactly.
So it's
Okay.
like how do I put you can count as tier 2, tier 1, tier 3 at this point, no idea. Because there's nothing there. This is like one of the few things. And we see Geo coming up with, they're planning to do lands all around India, having like a price for like 5 lakhs. Like, okay, fine. Then you
Okay.
got TEC trying to have events over here. And so the number of events are increasing. There's something else which people, I don't know if they knew this or they were shy to the fact, like maybe just to play. But that fact that TC were having weekly tournaments. Every Saturday there was a game, there was a match, there was a tournament there for people to just play, maybe to make money. It's like only a 1 lakh prize pool, like 50,000 prize pool. But the fact that there is
That's
an
a lot though. If
opportunity,
it's per week, that's a lot.
yeah, it's per week. I was shocked to know it was literally like per week or per 2 weeks. It was happening, and I didn't see anybody like being
I
consistent.
don't
No,
think it's per week. I think it's probably per 2 weeks or per month, but like that's still a lot.
yeah, I think no, it was happening like it was like 1 week, another week, then they take a break, then another 2 weeks. Like it was ensure like if a store is opening, they're gonna have an event. It was like that. They had the tie up like that. So each store opened and they're
Okay.
like, hey, this person is gonna come over here. Just we are gonna have a tournament now. So they did
Hmm.
that, and I was like, okay, there are opportunities there for people to just play better or get recognition or something like that. Because they're doing CS:GO. Now they're on CS2. There's a new game, new faces, and this is my humble opinion that I feel CS2 is simply going to do better than Valorant did in India, simply because it has the scope to have a very wide pool of tier 2 players who will want
Yeah,
to
but
get
Valorant's
better.
gonna come out on mobile and it won't matter.
Yep.
I mean, if it comes in mobile, it's going to happen in 2024. We all are anticipating it to happen, but PC gaming, I think so, it's just going to be there because the fact of the matter is, we have seen console gaming just go down the bin. We have seen mobile gaming be at its peak in India, and CS has an opportunity. I'm not saying if it's done well, it has an opportunity, in my
See, the
opinion.
thing is for CS2 to be mainstream, like it needs to have this same impact that Valorant did. Like A lot
It
of these
can't.
mobile streamers have to start playing CS2.
Hmm.
YouTube's gonna have to be filled with content.
Yeah.
There needs to be other websites, other streaming platforms, streaming Loco and all of those platforms where CS2 is being streamed. On top that, a big contender, right? Uh, Multiple big contenders, not just one. Multiple big contenders need to come in and start hosting tournaments. I'm not saying like these 1 lakh, 2 lakh rupee tournaments or 5 lakh rupee tournaments in like a month or like once every 3 months or things like that. But these should be happening like instantly, and there should be a lot more local lands and all of that. So there's like a, in my opinion, it's more like I don't see, if I'm a TO or if I'm an investor, I don't see the returns to it, honestly speaking.
There
So
aren't.
why would I do
They're
it?
not there.
Why
But
would I do it?
I disagree in how India can actually sustain. I think the way India sustains is or grows is very different to that. First of all, you can't be mainstream. That's just not going to happen. Valorant got mainstream because you guys just got lucky because BGMI got banned, and
Yep.
it's just literally pure luck. That's not happening at least for the foreseeable future. Though who knows, right? From what I understand, who knows? um,
Ah, bye bye BGIS. Aha.
Oh no.
but no.
Imagine.
Imagine playing games on mobile, dude. Could be us, man. Could be us.
So look, it just needs to have like these LAN cafes, these small tournaments. That's enough to have a good scene. At the end of the day, what tournament organizers need to focus on, like I think Sky is doing this completely. I think Sky is completely wrong in its approach. Where all of its approach is to bring people and teams into India. I think if you want, like, look at the viewership that Sky Masters had. Like, it peaked on 1,851, if I remember correctly, according to the ES charts. Though I don't know
Yeah.
if ES charts tracks local, but whatever, it's around that,
It
right?
do- it doesn't.
For
So
such a big tournament, even if it does track local, I don't care. It's
What match was it though?
it was the final.
I
It was
do
the
not
grand
know.
final.
I haven't
The
like
grand final?
I don't
It was
know.
the grand final. It was the grand final.
Yeah, I'm just trying to take a
Okay.
dub if it's there, okay?
Just in case,
Just
but
in
one of the
case.
rare ones.
Hey, trophy.
but no, so this is where you have to keep in mind that for the viewership to increase in any scene, it is largely tied to domestic teams performing internationally. So for
Hmm.
Sky, the fact that, for example, their Sky Masters is an event happening in India, in my opinion, the $250,000 price pool, the price tag, and everything probably helps attract sponsors and whatnot. It being in India is probably sponsor dependent, everything. But the fact that you didn't maybe reduce some of that price pool and put it more into like, oh, hey, whichever team is winning, we're gonna create a partnership with XYZ tournament organizer. You go on boot camp and play in their tournaments. I know this is possible because I've literally planned this out. For context, I was going to be launching a league a couple of years ago. I was able to secure lots of deals with tournament organizers to allow teams from that league to go play there. It was very easy. Unfortunately, like my main sponsorship fell through, which is why I never saw the light of day. But I can tell you these things are easy to do, right?
Okay.
So I'm not good at selling sponsors, but I do understand like how easy it is to get teams into like international tournaments. This is the kind of stuff which sustained over time. That gives you chances of like success. That gives you chances of viewership being increased. That gives you chance of people being interested. Even like the Pakistan versus India match and everything that happened for Sky Souvenir, 90% of Pakistanis didn't know when it was happening. The scheduling for that tournament was so bad. I was going to co-stream it, but then I think I was told it would start at 3. It ended up starting at like 6:30 or
Yeah.
something like
It
it.
was
And I
delayed.
just
Yeah.
like I just don't have time. Like
Yeah.
I can't sit here for 3 hours watch like Sri Lanka versus Nepal. I just don't care, right? Like I'm not interested in these teams. Similarly,
Yeah.
it's this idea of bringing Sri Lanka and Nepal and these teams into it for your tournaments. And I realized the Souvenir was a very rushed event because they had to like change around things a lot.
A
But
lot.
even so, I just don't understand like why if you're doing an online event, why wouldn't have, for example, more Pakistani teams, more Middle Eastern teams,
We
more
want to
of
see big
like
names. We want to see like the majority countries playing, and we want to see big names. And I'm not saying like not to give opportunities to the all the other countries, right?
yeah.
But then again, like we want to see what sells, right?
Yeah,
Like we
like
want to.
Hmm.
Nepal lost like 16-2, 16-3, 16-4 for most of their matches, right? Like,
I mean, I could name like five Indian teams at the top of my head that wouldn't happen. Like
yeah,
Yeah.
no, fair enough.
just wouldn't
But
happen.
similarly, I can say, and I don't think that competition should be like the number one priority. Don't get me wrong, but like for example, give them like force them to qualify, right? So Nepal should maybe have
Yeah.
to qualify for with like the third best Pakistani team, the third best Indian team, like the second best Bangladeshi team, something like that, right? Like Sri Lanka
Great.
as well. It's stuff like that. It's similar to the old major qualifiers where top 16 was the major. You had a major qualifier first with 16 teams, and then a couple of those teams went forward. I think
But
that
how do you go
thing.
about like setting the seeding for this? Like that's,
Yeah.
I mean, how do you go
Uh,
about setting the seeding for
I
this?
don't think seeding is like a major concern as long as, like let's say the number one Indian team is probably supposed to be
Very
first seed. Pakistan is probably supposed to be third seed. The Middle Eastern number one is supposed to be second seed. And then uske aage, like, you figure it out. Also, if you're having tournaments over time, seeding figures itself out.
I
Right?
mean,
exactly.
yeah,
Okay,
you
That's an
you know
issue
just
for
my
the
bad.
first
Yeah, yeah,
tournament, but yeah.
yeah.
Right. So my point is, generally speaking, points of viewership are not being particularly established in that regard. So even when you do have this Pakistan-India matchup, and again, I understand that the planning was difficult, but you do choose you chose it to be difficult, right? You made that choice, and hopefully next time it's better. I do think it's going to be better next time. I do think that hopefully things aren't delayed by 3 hours every single time I want to watch a match. But yeah, it's just it. I still remember everyone on the Pakistani Facebook group for Counter Strike because that's where most people come. Everyone's asking me, "Oh, when is the match going to be?" I was like, "I've got no fucking clue, dude. I don't know."
Yeah, you
Like,
were supposed to stream one of the games and like it got delayed or something, right? And then
I was supposed to stream like every single Pakistani match, and every single Pakistani match got delayed. And I was
God.
really tilted because that also meant that also one of the Middle Eastern matches like randomly got changed from like 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock, and because of that, one of my players who's like who's in the Middle Eastern team, we couldn't play our play like we didn't get to play our ESEA playoffs with our full 5-man lineup either one of the time because Souvenir was just like
At the
randomly
same time.
putting like tournaments like back and like their matches back and forth. So it was just really stupid.
I
one thing
mean,
I did like, I mean, like the rescheduling and things like that, right? Like I kind of get it. Like it's probably player requests and team
yeah.
requests and stuff like that.
It wasn't. I checked because my one of my players was coaching the Pakistani teams and one of my players was in the Middle Eastern teams,
Ah,
and both of these teams had a match against each other, and then that match got pushed like 3 hours ahead from what they initially said.
ah,
So right, like
Oh.
yes, there was certain agreements and whatnot, but like also at the same time, I know that some of the players requested, like they didn't demand, but they did request, like, hey, please don't do this, right? Like a couple of hours before the match. So there
Yeah.
are those things to consider.
I mean,
And I
I
know that there's probably some fault of the players. Don't get me wrong, Suraj, you're right.
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Like I'm sure like the players are also idiots because very often,
Players are idiots.
players are idiots very often.
Agreed, agreed.
And not because they're stupid because of them being players. It's just that they're young kids and everything, right? I don't expect a 17-year-old, 18-year-old to have mastered communication when they're spending like 10 hours playing Counter Strike a day.
I mean, Suraj, I'll barge in before you say something because I want to add this because I
Go on.
got the chance to go to the Masters event, the LAN event, which was it was announced to be 50 days, made into 2 days actually. And I was like, okay, fine, 2 days, cool. It is what it is. You go to
Sorry,
the
what do you mean
event
by
and
announced to be 50 days? Could you explain?
so it was honestly told further it's going to be like 50 days. It was put on Twitter that it's going to be a 50-day LAN. We're going to have every day stuff like that.
So initially,
And
it was supposed to be a
yeah,
studio LAN. All the
Okay.
teams
yeah.
are going to go to the studio, and every team had to be present in Mumbai. They wanted all 8 teams in Mumbai, and we're gonna have studio LANs with like Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, or
They were planning to
something
do
of
it like
that
a
sort.
very long tournament for like people to come and
Yeah,
watch and stuff. And I was actually happy that it's happening. I'm like, okay, fine, something I can go to because I enjoy going to events. But I went to I was
I
like,
was
okay,
just happy like finally I get to play a LAN. But then,
maybe even that didn't
but
happen,
yeah.
but that's fine. But getting to the point that so I went to the event and you see the event and it's quite well done up. I'll just say this. They've done it well. Everybody's coming. There's no issues and stuff. I would say one thing which I had to go there as a writer to write about the event and how this is like maybe the beginning for CSGO. And I remember many times I was just standing outside the gate because I was just having discussions with people because we didn't want to be in the arena. It was too loud. And there were people coming and asking us that, hey, what is this event about? Or what is this about gambling? Because they suddenly saw Counter Strike and they're like, is this gambling? And I'm like, no, this is esports. And the thing is, you have to even differentiate a game of chance and a game
I
of skill
know.
in India. Like, that's the main
Yeah,
issue
because
which
of
is happening right
legal
now.
repercussions. Yes.
I mean,
Yeah. I've been
So,
following those lawsuits.
I,
Yeah.
th- I
yeah,
think you
so
messed up, dude. CSS gambling, to be fair. Like,
it
you
is,
should have
but
just
it's
said
not like
yes.
inside the.
Yes, you can make money. Bet on any Indian team. You're gonna make a lot of money.
Yeah, but it was not like you go there, tell them like, hi, yeah, this is like it's not like yeah, come over here, put your money in and just watch the hours and take the money back. It was like there are players who are playing over there, they're there. So I had to explain to them esports, I had to explain to them gaming and be like, hi, yeah, okay, this is what it is. And then they're like, okay, fine, we want to see because they were
Yeah,
so
mid
confused.
conversation, they probably just lost interest and walked away.
No, they went inside the arena surprisingly. Many of them went inside just to see what it is. Like the point is just to like give eyes on a ground level to be like, hey, look, there's something happening. It was done up. I'll say it was done as high as it could, but I'll just be honest, the stadium was very much empty. Like most of them because it was a
Yeah, I
CS:GO
mean,
event.
so can you tell me what stadium it was? Let me just Google
Okay,
that.
so it's called the
Koramangala
Core
Stadium.
Mangala Indoor Stadium. It was made for like the games of badminton and other sports, indoor sports in short to take place. And right now they're going to be having a BGMI event over there, and that stadium is going to be filled. I'm just going to be blunt and honest. It is going to be
It's got
filled.
a it's got a capacity of 2,000 people. There were never going to be 2,000 people
Yeah,
there for Counter Strike.
exactly. I mean, I think so. It was mainly just done that. Yeah, it was literally they were all on the ground for all the fans who were there. They were on the ground, like on the near to the stage, and it was like okay, at max 300 people, at max
I
400.
mean, if it was like PUBG Mobile, then
Yeah,
it's like there'd be queues, but yeah.
yeah, it's going to be filled. I mean, I'm going to tell you, I'm going in November and it's going to be packed to the brim and they have to make sure that there's security because last time Stampede. But the point being is, for me as a person who is just trying to get into CS and understand it, I was like, okay, fine. Good way of introducing the interview, just showing it on the ground level, like this is how it's done. But now you have to follow it up. And talking about Masters, now they've announced another event, which is your championship, which is in Mumbai, and they've told 3 dates. Now I'm not going to trust them when the 3 days actually happen because I, let's just say I booked my tickets and then I had to now just somehow manage 2 days in Bangalore. So yeah, if anybody wants to meet me, let me know because I don't know what to do. But point being is now they're going to have that and they've called. I like how they did the Navi thing, by the way. I don't know if have you all seen what has happened or
That's
did you all
Navi
see that?
Junior. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
That was
Navi Junior.
so well done in a way of like, oh yeah, there's a hint that maybe some Navi is coming. Oh, it's Navi Junior. And my first thing is, oh, they're not. Oh, so it's not actual Navi. Oh,
Navi
but
is
nah,
not gonna. I mean, even Navi Junior is not gonna be coming, so it's fine.
Start the cap.
No, they're just.
But yeah,
It's a qualifier. They're gonna lose the qualifier.
yeah,
yeah,
it's gonna be in EU. I mean,
Yeah,
it's an online qualifier.
like it's what? It's Navi Junior. It's B8. Who else is it?
Aurora, I think.
TSM.
Yeah, literally all three of those teams are better than Navi Junior.
I mean,
You didn't have to break it like that.
but yeah, that's
It's
what.
a
But no,
junior team.
yeah.
Dude, I mean, everyone's catching straight today from our here.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on, man?
I mean, you tend
So
to
it's like-
wonder. It's just everybody's
I
being caught in
call a
the
junior
crossfire.
team. I call a junior team worse than like three full-time paid Counter Strike professional teams in the top 30. Oh no.
I mean, no, but we were discussing about this and their format. What they're planning to do is like have an invitational have a close qualifier for EU, and then have like another qualifier for you. If I'm correct, they put on the Twitter that they're gonna have it for like the Middle East, like
Middle
one
East.
team for the
Yeah.
At least.
and then from India. And I'm like, okay, I want to know, does this make sense, or is this like a smart idea to like go forward with?
Listen, I don't know what you mean by that, right? Like, could it be done better? Probably. Could it be done worse? Yes, absolutely. I don't know what their goals are. I don't know what their like sponsorship metrics are. Everything. You also have to keep in mind they've got like really big sponsors. Like, what I think it's AMD, Windows,
Yeah.
Microsoft, Loco, and like maybe a couple of others ones, right? So those guys probably have like domestic activation requirements. So you probably do need to be in like a certain number of cities. Also, if you want to have more teams, then it's going to be way more expensive. It is weird that it's a 3-day event. To be honest, I think this should probably be like a 1-day event or a 2-day event at most. 3 days doesn't really
I
make
feel like
sense to
two
me.
days sound. I mean,
Yeah, 2 days
I probably feel like
probably.
the third day is probably just gonna be like Friday,
And there are
Saturday,
only
Sunday,
four
and
teams.
Friday is gonna
That's
be more. Or Sunday is gonna be more content related stuff like that.
but there are four
Kind
teams.
of like
What are
how
you going to do
many
with
is there.
them? Like
Yeah.
have the semi-finals on one day, have the finals, grand finals on another day, and maybe a third place. That'll take 2 days. And then what's going to be the one day?
Like if it's a double elimination, that's different. But again,
Yeah.
it's just weird. I don't really understand why it's 3 days long. But whatever. I think this
Or
is
maybe,
irrelevant.
guys, they're just playing 21 rounds of Counter Strike. Uh-huh. No? Okay, never mind. Just messing with you. But yeah, getting back to what Maman said, like
Yeah.
maybe it's like BO3s or like BO5s maybe because
I
the
mean,
round numbers are
it
less.
won't be BO5s. It won't be BO5s.
That'll be too much.
That would be yeah, that would be crazy. I just think this is whatever. I don't think it matters whether it's 3 days. To be honest, you know what? If they want to spend a little bit more money, if they want to just have longer activation, that's fine. They probably want to like pair together with some like cosplay stuff and this and that, and like the content things that you do to make it a festival. Were there any concerts at the previous one? Yeah,
Okay,
the
so
Sky Masters one.
Masters had a concert at the end. They had like a music performance by someone, and
Was
then
it like
out
someone famous?
it was someone. It was this famous rapper, and then suddenly Mortal comes out of nowhere, and you're like, oh, I mean, he was announced, so he was there. But even during the
Okay.
event, after every game, there was like a streamer showdown match, or there's no cosplay thing, but there were just streamer showdown matches which were happening. So they're like one per day,
Was it
Okay.
kind of like Comic Con?
kind of like yeah,
Huh.
Yeah, because that's generally one of the ways that you sort of get sponsorships, right? If you're getting like musical acts and this and that, you're making more like a festival to celebrate.
yeah.
So in places like Mumbai and Bangalore, like you mentioned, if you can activate a lot of the local community, that's one of the ways you sell for sponsors. Um, because viewership is just not going to come, right? So that's sort of understood. I am just honestly surprised that there's only one Indian team. I think that's makes very little sense to me.
That's even more. There's an invited team now. That's another thing. Like, who is this? Like,
that's
where?
probably going to be a European team.
European team. Yeah.
But then why are they not in
Like
the
that'll
qualifier?
probably
Like,
be because
Wait, so
the European
there's only
close
four teams.
qualifiers. Yeah,
There's
there's
only
only
four
four teams.
teams. One EU invited team, one from India, one from MENA, and one from EU from the close
Yeah,
qualifiers.
yeah.
so we don't know
So
which
I
other
would
team.
I
Yeah.
would imagine that the direct invite is like a big name because if you look over towards the Europe close qualifiers, Navi Junior is not a big name. B8 is not a big name. Aurora is not a big name. DSM sure big org, but no one knows the players.
New players, right?
So I mean they're old players, but they're reject players. So they're not going to be like very hyped. So the
What's the
direct
name?
invite is probably it's Jax Fala roster.
Jax Valde enters. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay, gotcha.
Like all of them are good players, are old players, but they're not the kind of players where I'm like, oh hey, Forest and Get Right are coming, and like all of the old 1.6 players in India can get excited, right? Like that's not it's
Happening.
not the same pull.
Fair.
Um, right. So the direct invite is probably the pulling team. So that's the audience pull, is what I imagine. So that's fine. Again, I think this is whatever. I don't think this is worth talking about too much, to be honest.
I
It's
mean,
it's fine. It's a 4-team tournament. Probably could have been a 8-team tournament with more
I
Indian
was
teams being invited, but yeah.
yeah, I was actually wanting it to be like if you're having more days. For me, it's just that I mean going from an event which actually had a 3 day event where there were players who were there and you had an arena filled with eight. Like let's just be honest, they had an event like
Was Sky
mobile
Masters
gaming.
3-day?
No. Try Masters was a 2 day. I'm talking about like the
Okay.
BGMI event which just happened. The official
Okay.
that was a 3 day event which had like 6,000 people coming inside an arena. Now I know from Alpha you cannot fill 6,000 without mobile gaming. In India, it's very tough to do that, unless you have it like unless it's even Valorant at max you might have like 1,000 or 2,000. If it's put in Mumbai per se, because they tried in Delhi, nobody went, nobody even cared. They've not had it in They had it in Bangalore. It was all right, but Mumbai is the only place where you can have an event. And I know for a matter of fact, like there are rumors that a lot more leagues are now because after seeing BJS work out, they're going to do it in Mumbai. But the point over here is for me to understand, even for me to ask you all, is this because we see how now Valorant is suddenly just like yeah off season and whatever there is, and now CS2 has come. And CS2, their Counter Strike has announced that they're going to be like 2025 is only going to be open qualifiers for everything. There's going to be no more invite system. So do you feel
Yeah.
like we're going
So
to see like extreme, like we're going to see franchising or partnership event, like partnership, not franchising, partnership versus open qualifiers? And do you feel like this tug of war is going to be like quite detrimental on like how PC gaming goes forward?
I don't know about all that.
Yeah,
In
like
terms
also
of
it
like a
isn't only open
franchise development.
qualifiers.
That's what
Yeah,
they,
and
that's what
No,
I
was
mean,
no.
told.
So,
I was having a talk about this with like Kevin, right? Kevin R. Like we've been queuing for a while now in CS2. So this is what he was saying. Like now he's been playing since like the inception of the game, right? From NA, and he has a lot of knowledge and all that. So he's telling me that earlier in 1.6 he used to have tournaments where anyone from the world could register. You just
that
come
was
in
every
on LAN
CGS, every one of these major events in Counter Strike was open
and you
qualifier.
just play. And I'm like, dude, that's crazy. You just have seeding. Consequently, like Maman said, like consequently you figure out the seeding with like multiple tournaments in, and then you have a big event where anyone can participate. It doesn't matter if you're Gold Nova, it doesn't matter if you're like 5K Elo or whatever, you all get to play on the same pool. And I'm like, dude, this has to be done in my opinion. Like not for every single tournament. Like you can have your own partnered or franchisee tournaments. But if, in my opinion, if you want to build the scene in India, it'd be better if you just open a tournament where anyone from anywhere in the world can join and start playing. and if the prize pool is big enough with like Skies, if you're hosting a 250k prize pool for like franchise teams and like 8 partner teams, if you could do the same thing as for an open tournament, I'm pretty sure a lot of people would be flying in just to play. You can, I mean, I don't know if you can community source it, like kind of like how Dota does for TI and their like their majors or whatever. I'm just chiming in, but I'd love to
Yeah.
see an event like this where anyone can
Okay,
join
so
and
this
play.
will never happen. This is also probably
Big,
really detrimental. So, to be honest, it's probably very bad for like the global scene. I don't know about India, because straightforward reason is players need to be paid salaries. Open qualifiers are a terrible way to guarantee any exposure or anything like that. Because if you look over towards, historically, even in Counter Strike Global Offensive, like NIP, once they got out of the major circuit, they were losing in open qualifiers consistently, even though they were coming like top 4 to top 8 in like a lot of
mhm.
tournaments even then, right? So
Okay.
you don't want to have that happen. That's just bad. You want to have the best teams at the best events, and sure, you can say that, hey, open qualifiers, you know, just win, bro. But honestly, you're playing like 20
Anybody? Yeah.
matches if you're in Europe, right? Like 20 matches, someone comes, someone's having a good day, whatever. It's BO1s as well, because there just isn't like logistically enough time for BO3s. You can lose a BO1. Anyone can lose a BO1. So yeah, like I just think that's a bad idea. But to clarify, 2025 Counter Strike is not only open qualifiers; it's
Okay.
invitations based on Valve official ranking. It's
Okay.
just you cannot invite based on partnership systems. So you can
Oh,
invite, but you can't like have you can't be paid to have teams play
a
basically.
Kind of
slot.
like what
Okay.
Blast does, right?
Yeah, but like what Blast and ESL both do, but ESL just has
Yeah.
a better circuit overall, so you can't tell. But Blast is a really extreme version of that. So yeah. So you can't have that, but what you can have is like, for example, like if ESL is doing Cologne, they can have like the top 12 teams in the world come in just on direct invite, and then the closed qualifiers will probably have invitations to the closed qualifiers on the basis of rankings as well, right? And then open qualifiers will still happen, but by that time, like literally, if you're thinking about it this way, if top 12 teams are invited, next open qualifiers are 6 invited slots in Europe. So 6 more slots in Europe are there. So that's another 6 teams. North America, 4 slots invited, right? So you're basically inviting into the closed qualifier system at the very least 25 teams. So it's not bad. It's still going to be fine. It is detrimental to younger tournament organizers like Sky and whatnot who need to invite for like specific exposure. But I also don't think it's going to be implemented on them. To be frank, like I don't think Valve's going to care about what Sky does
Or
unless
partnership.
Sky
Yeah.
is trying to do like, yeah, exactly, like Valve doesn't step in unless it's like big enough to impact global, or they're
Okay.
forced to. That's how it works. So yeah, it's not like Riot where like you have to get approvals for every single thing. Valve is just like, yeah, please don't make us leave the office, man. Please, we don't want to do this.
I mean,
This
in
will
a
give
way,
us more work.
I mean, yeah, in a way, I mean, that's the thing which is happening right now. That there are, like, for somebody who's been following Valorant for a very long time, we have were seeing events happening left, right, and center. Now, right after franchising or like their partnership league, they have now they're like gatekeeping their
No,
events.
Riot did that even before. India was just fortunate because of how many people wanted to get in. But I can tell you right now, Riot did reject a lot of people from hosting tournaments, especially if they were like, for example, clashing with VCC when that was
Okay.
happening.
Yeah.
It was VCC, right? Like whatever
VCT.
the
Yeah. Whatever.
VCC, the the
Championship.
the South Asian Conquerors Championship or
Okay.
whatever,
Conquerors. Okay.
right? So
You
Riot
win
did
VCC, then you
actually,
go to VCT, and then
Yeah.
yeah.
up the ladder.
Okay.
Yeah, so like Riot did reject a lot of tournament organizers from like clashes and things like that. Similarly, Riot also made it so only one tournament organizer could operate at a time. So
Hmm.
unlike, which is good in my opinion, to be honest. But like in Counter Strike, for example, I can tell you
Elaborate. No,
that,
I wanna understand why it's good. Like
yeah, yeah,
what makes it
I'll tell you.
strong.
But like in Counter Strike, for example, I know that in Pakistan it's a small scene. A lot of tournament organizers, what they would do is like they'd be like, well, fuck that guy. I'm going to like host this tournament on the same weekend as him just to undermine his tournament, right? Just to show that people that I'm the big dog, and that's bad. There should be collaboration to some extent, and when it's a young industry, when there's a lot of young people in the industry, sometimes that collaboration doesn't come through because right now, for example, in Pakistan and India, we are not at the point where we have a pie big enough to fight over. It has to be one of those points where you're like, hey man, like for example, I really think Sky did a terrible job with Souvenir's timing, even if it was only going to affect 2 or 3 teams because they place it at the same time as the ESEA playoffs, right? Like I think that's really bad. So Riot stops that from happening, but also Riot makes it really hard to then find a weekend to have your tournament on. right? So these are the kinds of things that have happened. There were a lot of rejections from Riot as well. There was a lot of really annoying stuff from Riot as well, including things like I think from what I remember, wait, what date is it?
Today is the 22nd.
Okay, my NDA has expired. Okay, from what I remember, like I think if you were having a tournament that was exceeding 25,000, again, it's been like 2 years since I read these. Keep this in mind. I think it was like $25,000 or something.
Yeah.
You had to like get specific Riot
Yes, you do.
allowance for every sponsor and stuff,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
which is just like extra red tape. With sponsors are already so hard to get in like
Yeah.
these regions. Again, India has gotten easier because of mobile, but like Pakistan is still very difficult. So it's just like if I have to then go through the red tape of getting a Riot approval, that's going to take me another 3 weeks because obviously Riot is like so big and they don't care about my shitty little like $5,000 event that much, or rather even $25,000 event that much. So it's just some annoying stuff like that. Yeah.
I mean, it just makes you wonder, like, okay, like, because for some, like, I mean, I'm just going to be honest. Oh, yeah, I was hopeful, like, okay, yeah, CS has an opportunity, seeing these events happen everywhere, because in every corner now there are more CS2 events happening, like, which is nice to see because it's
It
just
does
like,
have an opportunity though. Like this is really good. Like you guys are looking at a scene that's being revived. Like it's been 5-6 months since the scene has initially
I mean,
started to be
the bottom
revived.
line is like if tournaments are being hosted, it's good. It doesn't matter like what
Yeah.
scale it is or like how
yeah,
big, like how many frequencies there are. It's if
The
tournaments
only
being hosted,
problem
it's
is with like tournaments like Sky are too big for themselves. So they will collapse internally if they don't grow fast enough. That's the only issue. That's why this conversation is even happening. About like, hey, like, is this wrong? Is that wrong? Otherwise, who cares, man? If there's events happening all the time, these teams will eventually sign on to the ESEA leagues. These teams will eventually like look to compete internationally,
yeah,
is what you'd hope. But because people
they
like
should be
Sky are
doing it
coming
now.
in,
They should
they
be
should
doing
be
it
doing it
now.
now.
right
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, 100%. But because when Sky's come in and like forced money into it, now you need to accelerate this stuff. Right now,
yeah,
you need to make sure that I mean, if I'm Shiva, it is Shiva, right?
yeah,
Yeah, it is
sure.
I've
sure.
only seen like his entire like name, so
Yep,
I'm not
yep.
sure. Like, okay, um, so if I'm Shiva, I go to every single one of my franchise teams and I tell them all, you will not be allowed to participate in our tournament unless you are playing the SEA leagues. Unless you are playing every single open qualifier, I will check, right? I'm going to go through and like have my guy check, were you guys registered in the open qualifiers? Because I can tell you they're not. They weren't registered for the Jean Coping qualifiers. They're not in the ESEA league this right now. They're not going to be playing the Atlanta qualifiers either that are going to come up. They're not playing Cash Cups. You how are you guys missing opportunities to play against top ECL teams in Cash
Yeah,
Cups, right? Like New Happy plays every single Cash Cup.
And
Why aren't you playing against New Happy?
you get to play against these top teams
Yeah.
for nothing. Like there's no
And
entry fees.
and
You
also,
don't need
by
to
the
be a
way,
good team to play against them.
there
You
is
just
entry
get a
fees. There
free
is entry
opportunity.
fees. There is entry fees. Just
It's a premium league
it's
pass.
look, it's the league pass is kind of expensive given like our economies and everything. But
how
the
much does
point
it
is, if you have
cost?
an
Like, if
organization, the league pass across 6 players, so 5 players plus coach,
Five plays.
will cost you like $180, I think.
wow,
Right?
okay,
So
that's like
that's a lot, but also
that's like
that
what,
lasts for three
11,000,
months.
11,000
versus
rupees. Yeah,
dude.
But
It's like $12 a month, and you get to play $12 to $15 a month, and you get to play like
uh,
top dogs in
listen,
Asia. Like
but
I
at
mean,
the same time, I don't know what anyone's economic circumstances, so I don't want to be making light of
yeah.
that. But the point is, the 8 teams, they should be doing it, right? Like orgs should be paying for this at least, right? Like, okay, maybe individually you have whatever, maybe you have like issues, who knows, man? Like whatever's going on in your house, whatever's going on in your life. I'm not one to comment. I'm fortunate, fine. Some people might not be, but if you are in an org, those orgs should be paying this.
Wait, you tell me it's 11,000 per year for being able to chance
No,
to
no,
play
no,
with the
no, no.
best.
It's for 3 months.
you know
It's
what?
for
Okay,
three
three
months.
Now
months.
that you mention it, like it's taking me back like a year or two, when like ESA was separate and FACEIT was separate, right? And during that time, like again, you needed to get the league pass, the ESA open pass and subscriptions and all that, right? And we kind of like ESA kind of noticed this because a couple of us had made a request saying that from the region saying that we were not able to pay the money instantly because of either card issues, because of
Yeah.
Russian situation and all of that, right? And ESA was so like they were so good about it in the sense that Impression started posting codes, started giving out free ESA league passes for all of these teams, and ESEA sponsored this and said that if you guys, any of the teams participating in this tournament, have any issues regarding payments and want to like get an ESA League Pass, we're giving out 1 month free subscriptions, and
Yeah.
you can think about it later on. Like when the TO, the bloody TO, is willing to go ahead and do all this for you, like what is the excuse for you as a player if you have an
Yeah.
org or if you don't have an org? Like it's stupid to me. Like even my situation, like I'm gonna get personal right now because even my team, we were in a situation where a couple of the players weren't able to pay. You know what we did? Ghost is paying for them. We paid for 3 months. When we had Russian players on our team last year, two of them couldn't pay due to card issues. We paid for them. We sold skins and we paid for them.
Yeah.
They traded their skins and they did it. There's always a way out, right? There's always a way
Yeah.
out to do these things, right? If you come down to the micro level. So I don't think it's like, I mean, financial situations are there, but like $12 a month, like
Look, the
if
point
this is for
is,
your team,
even if the financial situations
whatever,
are there, there should be 8 teams registered, right? Like the
Yeah.
Sky
should
has 8 partner teams.
should be.
Like
And
similarly, there have been more Pakistani teams registering for ESEA League historically over the past like 6 seasons than Indian teams, which is crazy to me because the only Pakistani team registers is mine. So we just play and we register because like we've got like a couple of people who are like all semi-pros who are all working now, right? So we just play for fun.
okay.
Why is it that you don't have this happening? I just hate this. I really hate this because also just this isn't Valorant, right? So you can access the IP to watch this stuff. So if you
Yeah.
want to talk about broadcasting for your own personal brand, guess what? God's reign, they're not going to do this, but they could theoretically have someone just stream every single one of their matches,
I could ask
right?
them
So
to do that.
everyone who's like interested in
And
anyone
you
who's
know what?
interested.
You know what? There's an org that used to do this in the past, like a couple years back. Artisan Esports. They used to do this. They're not a big
Oh
org,
yeah.
formed by players participating in the ESL League or playing ESEA Open, Cash Cups, all of that shit. Gordon and a Mongolian caster who was also a part of their content creation team
Yeah.
started casting these games. And then when they started noticing that these are the teams they keep facing over and over again,
Hmm.
they build their own scenario, they build their own playground.
Yeah.
Dude, it's like the
The
effort
beginning.
is what matters. They
Yeah.
started out with like 3 or 4 viewers, and at a point it was like 60 viewers because the game started getting bettable. And then there's more viewers. Everyone from the in and
And
around the scene, every single player is watching it. Like,
and not to
dude, come
mention
on.
like you are trying to build up the audience as well, right? It is the franchise teams' responsibility to build up audience and viewership.
Yeah.
So things like cash cups, which are so for context, in case you don't know, cash cups are like monthly tournaments that happen across 1 or 2 days.
Okay.
There's like 8 to 24 teams in Asia that normally will register for them, but there's always like 1 or 2 of the top teams that do not top, but like they're
It's
maybe like ranked 5 and
bi-weekly
6.
to be fair. Like there's like
I think it's
two
once a month
tournaments
now. I
there.
don't know if it's bi-weekly
Uh,
anymore.
really, they changed it?
I'm not sure though. Like I'm not
It's been a while.
100% sure. I haven't. No, it's not been a while. It's ever since it migrated to Faceit, it's harder to keep track actually.
Okay.
So that's why. But yeah, just if that'd be great. But the point is, it's like a $3,000 event. It's online. It's happening on the weekend. Just play that. If you're streaming versus like New Happy versus Clutch, these are like good teams. So that's where Indian people will also be interested in just watching, man. Like, oh, hey, like, let's see what happens. We're probably going to lose, but like, maybe we're going to map. Maybe it's going to be fun. Oh, have you disconnected?
No.
Draco?
No, I'm right here.
Okay.
No, he's here, he's here.
I'm here. I'm here. Okay. I was gonna
your
ask you
camera
this.
vanished.
Okay. I know. I
Draco,
just.
could you, can we pause for just a minute?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, I'm just.
So, I mean, we were talking about this, and I was just having a discussion about this, and I wanted to know this. So, my friend asked me, like, he is somebody who has played in tier 3 teams in Valorant, and he has played CSGO before that. And he asked me a few days ago, where do I start? I want to get back into professional play. I want to get back into CS2, and I want to get better. Where do I start my career? And I told him as somebody, like, just start playing, play the leagues. But y'all are more, it's much better that to hear from y'all. Like, what do y'all feel like the start? Because then where do you, how high can a player alone or with a team of 5 go?
What do you mean, like alone or with a team of 5? I don't
Like if a
understand.
person is playing rank, like let's just say like if they're playing like Premier and they're trying to get better.
Look, if you're playing Premier and you're very high ranked, you're probably gonna like add other people or whatever. If you're playing Faceit, you're probably gonna add other people. You're gonna go to like just go play local lands.
Just
You're
network.
saying, yeah, just go play local lands like ever. Don't be toxic. Go play these like lands in like Bangalore and wherever you guys are saying like happen, and you're gonna find a team. That's end of story. Like there's nothing
No, I
else
mean,
to
yeah.
it.
I mean, so just I wanted to ask this because how do I put it? In Valorant, there was there's a fairy tale story about like one tier 2 team making it to like the Challengers League. But like in CS2, imagine in India now, it's like, just help me. If I'm going somewhere wrong, just stop me, okay? So imagine for players that they make a team of five. They start practicing, they're playing every day for a certain amount of hours. They play during Premier, they're playing, going to all of these events. And they try to like make up money. And these events, which are like 50,000 prize pool or 25,000, even like 10,000, just going for every single event that there is. They get better with time. So after that, if they want to go international, what do they have to do? Or where do they feel like, when should they feel like, okay, you know what, we are one of the good teams in India? They're going away from the sky route. They are not deciding. They're going for all, each and every small cup that is happening around. When do they feel like, you feel like they
Just
should
go, just go play the SEA League.
just go?
We've been on. Me and team have been
Listen,
on about this for
okay.
a long time now.
Yeah,
Just play
I
the
Let
ESEA
me
League.
okay. Let me
We're gonna
explain how
win.
the SEA League works. Okay, because I feel like you don't know.
I am a bit
You play
clueless.
the
Yeah.
ESE Open
He's here
League.
to learn. Okay, don't bully him. Okay,
No, no. Listen, that's
Educate
fine.
me. Educate
But
me.
then,
educate him.
but you play the ESE Open League. It has practically no prize money, right? Like
Okay.
realistically, it doesn't have prize money.
Okay.
If you come number one in that, you qualify to the ESL Challenger League, which is the number one league in Asia, right?
Okay.
So either you will come number one, or if you come top four to top seven, depending on what season it is, you get to compete against some of the old teams from the ESL Challenger League, which were at the bottom, then they got relegated to go and compete and get into the ESL Challenger League. Once you are in the ESL Challenger League, I am 90% sure you will get an organization
Okay.
because I think every single like team does except for Suraj's garbage team, right?
Ah, sure.
But no, but like, but more realistically, like in the modern scene, you're going to get an org, right? Even if it is one of these
Yeah.
Sky teams, even if it is one of these like teams, because like
Like
Suraj
right
was
now
playing.
with yeah, we were playing after like during
Yeah, he
COVID.
was playing like right at the worst time, right? So all of that stuff is happening, but at that point, then sorry, just got like a weird text message. I forgot to turn my things off. But look, right at that point, if you are in ESL
How weird
Challenger
is it?
League,
You know what? I'm more interested in the text message right now.
okay,
Hold this one.
I
How
just
weird is
got
it to get
sent
this
I
message?
just got sent a message from someone who I haven't like heard from in almost half a year to 8 months. Just sending me a random picture of Andrew Tate. So
I don't know how to feel about
yeah, I don't
I
know.
am so.
I
Amen. That reaction of fair
it
and
is
just,
weird.
that means
It is. It is weird.
just a
so
prank.
I don't know. Anyway, so
Back to ranting. Yeah, let's go.
anyway,
Let's go.
right. So after that, if you come top two or in certain seasons number one in ESL Challenger League, you go play in the ESL Pro League.
Okay.
Also, while you're playing in the ESL Challenger League, you are competing against the best teams. You will get access to all of the scrim groups. Right now, you're scrimming against the best teams as well
Okay.
because you are competing against them in official matches and showing that you are a worthwhile practice opponent, assuming that you are that. Once
Yeah.
you're in those scrim groups, you're also playing open qualifiers for other events. You're playing open qualifiers for the major, you're playing open qualifiers for smaller DreamHack events, you're playing open qualifiers overall like this. Eventually, you are going to get to a point where, again, you've probably cut and changed like 3 or 4 players by now from your team, but one or two of these players is going to make it to the point where they can maybe compete for Pro League, or maybe they can be in a position where one of these Sky teams, for example, can help them move abroad towards the European side and whatnot. That's basically the route. There's a lot of question mark, question mark, question mark once you get to the ESL Challenger League, like high level, but no one gets there. So get there first, and then we'll figure it out from there. Right? Like no one gets to the point where they can actually be top four in ESL Challenger League, because yes, I think it's really difficult to compete at like the biggest stages. I'll be honest, but you're not even getting to the point where you can think about that right now, right? Like you're getting to the point right now where
I said thank you because
Yeah.
I've been
okay,
cribbing about this for a long time now,
yeah. So yeah,
and
like the point is
someone's
you
forcing it
you
out.
get there first, and yeah, that's the way the CS circuit works in Asia.
Okay.
That's the way it works in India. Also, if in India, a lot of players are probably, I actually they're probably not watching this, but theoretically, if a lot of players were watching this, they would probably be saying things like, "Oh, but the ESEA league gives us bad ping or whatever." Bro, grow up. Like, go sit and
How much of
go
a ping
like
is how
you.
much of a ping is good ping? Just help me out over here. How much of a ping is like
Okay, so
ideal to play in?
under 50 is ideal,
Okay.
like just in general,
Yeah.
right? But like playable is up to in CS:GO playable is up to like 100, 110,
Okay.
for like official matches. You can play on higher ping for scrims as well, but to be honest, like even up to 70 is like fine. 70 to 80
Dude,
is also fine.
70 is like 70 is where you kind of you start noticing your peakers advantage because in CS:GO when you have higher ping, like you get a much more advantage of like if you hold an angle at 70 ping and you're playing like Chinese teams who are like on Taiwan servers at like 5 ping, you're getting destroyed.
Yeah.
So your gameplay also starts changing where
But
you're like,
Okay.
but Face It has, like, ever since ESE League has migrated to Face It, you're almost always playing on Singapore. They've really fine tuned it, so you're almost always playing on Singapore.
And that
Even
is how
if you're
much
playing on
ping?
Hong Kong, Singapore for Indian, I mean, depends where you are. I think if
okay,
you're in
I'll
Chennai, it's
tell
like
you.
30
You know
ping.
what? I'm an expert at this.
Go
Okay,
for it.
Mumbai 65 ping to
Okay.
Singapore, right?
Great.
Very playable, really good. Hong Kong is 95 to 100, sometimes 110 depending upon the ISP.
This
If
is
you're
for
based
Mumbai.
in Mumbai or this for
Okay.
Mumbai. Now where I'm from in Chennai, I have a really huge advantage, which I don't think a lot of Indian orgs utilize, which is I
Yeah,
get
they don't.
35 ping to Singapore,
Yeah.
right? I get 15 ping to Mumbai. If I host my server on Chennai, of course it's 0 ping. But then Filipinos and the whole SEA region can also play on Chennai servers because it's like a
Yeah.
two-way thing.
Yeah.
And they get like 35 to 40 ping again as well. And Hong Kong
What ping do you
is
got to Hong
only
Kong?
65.
Yeah, that's the thing. Right. So if you're
That's
in
it.
Chennai, you are literally in the best, like, spot possible
You can
for,
play anywhere. Like
like,
I can play
competition.
Dubai
Yeah.
servers. Sorry to cut you off, but
No
yeah,
worries.
I can play Dubai servers at like 80 ping. So I can literally play scrims on MENA region as well. I can play Indian scrims, I can play SEA scrims, and I can also play Chinese scrims, which is like huge for me. The only servers that are like really bad are like Tokyo, which is still 110, which is not bad in like compared to other regions. But if I get Hong Kong for 70, why would I even go for like Tokyo in the first place, right? And Far East Russian players also play on Hong Kong,
Hong Kong.
and you got there's not a lot of Korean players left, but then South Korean players are also playing also play on Hong Kong, and like a lot of Chinese teams play on Hong Kong as well. And you have 5e, which is like the whole they have their whole global app as well as their
Chinese.
local Chinese version as well,
Hmm.
and you can play on either. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Like, India has such a big advantage over Pakistan, which is why I get even more tilted because of Chennai. Right. So
Hmm.
for comparison, in Pakistan, it doesn't matter where you are. Singapore, like, the best ping you can get to Singapore is 70. The best ping you can get to, like, Hong Kong is 110. We still we
Play.
still compete over there, right? It's not an issue. It's a joke, the fact that you can't play from Chennai or even from Mumbai, to be honest, because you're probably going to play on Singapore. 60 to 65 ping is perfectly okay, right? This is ridiculous if you aren't playing this one, right? That's really all there is to it. And as far as a two-way street goes, absolutely. Like, if you're hosting servers in Chennai, especially for people like Sky and whatnot, if they want to have like competitive tournaments with like the Southeast Asian region and things like that
Yeah.
as well, then even that can happen. But unfortunately, these advantages are not properly used because, well, for one thing, you're not fucking
The
playing
other,
the league.
I
So
mean, I mean, the other thing that baffles me the most is like Sky Esports is based out of Chennai. The whole,
Yeah.
are they
the whole,
Which, yeah, they are.
really?
Yeah. They
yeah,
have got a new
Oh, okay.
office
I
now
didn't
over
know
that's
that.
there.
what baffles me the most. Like,
Okay.
dude, like host it, host servers in Chennai. It's
So
not hard. I'll do it for you. Like I used to run practice
I
servers. Like it's
think
it's not even a matter of semantics or
I'll
financials or
just tell you
whatever.
this, Suraj.
It's
You
just like
should get in touch with them because from what I've heard in their new office, they have like they plan to have like a mini studio area where they can have events, like where they can have like small lands. So you should get in touch if you feel like there is scope. You never know.
I mean, like, listen.
sounds
Also,
interesting,
for
man.
for like Indian organizations, for the Sky organizations or for Sky themselves, honestly, guys, just put together some money. All of you play in ESE leagues, all of you play in cash cups, put together some money, get like some retired, washed up garbage like Suraj, who can talk very well, and have him be your dedicated content creator and pay him lots of money for it. See, I'm getting you money. I'm getting you
I'm
money.
trying. I'm trying to find my cricket bat. So
Really.
Wow.
it's okay.
Right, but the point is, like, on a serious note, get someone like
Yeah.
Suraj, get someone get someone who can actually just commentate over all of your matches, even if they're doing it just like in community building sense, right? Like,
Yeah.
have one person do it for everyone, right? Okay, maybe you have two people if you're worried about like schedule clashes or whatever, but the point still is, if all of you guys just picture this, 8 teams are playing in the league. Probably not all of them will make the ESL Challenger League, but like, let's say one or two of them probably will, if you're
Yeah.
being realistic. So if you're streaming, that's international matches against Asian teams for literally 8 teams. Not to mention, then if you're looking at domestic rivalries like India versus Pakistan, things like that, that can happen in the ESC League as well more effectively. That's more matches to come through. There's so many points of interest to build viewership and whatnot that you all these orgs, however, they shouldn't be looking to like get their own streamer per person. I think that's just a waste of time. There aren't enough people who understand CS. Honestly, there aren't enough people to be on 8 teams for Counter Strike in India. Let's be perfectly honest. But like this is basic viewership building stuff. Just do that. It's not that expensive. Suraj is unemployed.
Ah, who said that?
I mean, no, I will ask this to Suraj because I want to
I'm
know
unemployed
this.
in CS, okay?
Not in real life,
Yeah,
just in the gaming world.
not in real life, just in CS.
Yeah, but I want to ask you, Suraj, though, because this is some topic which you had brought up about like traveling, like how you stated about regions, like going to different regions and getting exposure over there. It was even brought like in Valorant. We had a situation where like in India is like, yeah, Indian players are going to be in India, and even though they get offers from China, you get offers from Indonesia, you get from Malaysia, because the money is not there, because maybe the language barrier is there, nobody's going to shift out. And ideally, for somebody who's a football fan, I've seen players who have gone from literally the Spanish league to the Norwegian league to the goddamn Netherlands league, and then playing in Portugal, and then coming back to goddamn England. Like all of that is done just to get better. And that is where I want to ask you, like, do you feel like that drive and the hunger to get better is just
See, I feel like the drive and the hunger is there. I don't think it's not there. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had performance like the way some of these players put up in the tournament, right? Which is crazy. But at the same time, I don't think they know the right way to go about it
okay?
because not a lot of people are willing to take risks, and that's fine. But at the same time, like
Also,
if you
these
want
are
to
like
grow,
17, 18-year-old kids that you're asking to move to a different country.
like you don't need
Right?
to. I mean, to be fair, you don't even need to move, dude. Like if you don't want
Move
to
to
move to a
Chennai.
different
Most of
country,
these
just
are most of these orgs do ask you to move. In all fairness, like the orgs that you're
uh,
getting offers from, they'll ask you to move. I can say this
I
for a
mean,
fact.
I don't know if it's like going on in CS2 right now. I don't see that happening. Considering, like, I'm only considering India at this point and Indian players. So to me,
Yeah.
it's like
It is
just
happening. Like there's a lot of like Asian orgs that are looking to that have been looking to get players in the past for Valorant and for CS, and like a lot of the issue is that they're like, well, these players have historically just not moved, right? So that's that there have been issues like that.
I mean, then it's just a matter of like personal preference and situations, dude. Like we can't ask for like I mean, if there's an opportunity to do it, like for me, like I take it.
Okay,
And
here's
that
the thing,
depends on the
Rako.
person also, right?
Yeah.
Like
Tell
you
me.
also have to keep in mind that all of these players are egotistical idiots on the top, and they think they're so much better than everyone else that they're just not going to play with like better teams.
Thank you.
That even though
Yeah.
they're like let's say like let me put it this way, right? I will not name names, but I know certain players like in South Asia, India, Pakistan, and GCC combined, who have received offers to go
Okay.
play on Asian mixed teams, to
Okay.
go play with like teams that are maybe would be ranked like 12 to 14 in Asia. These guys
Okay.
say no, and they say, oh, they're bad. But the
Oh, the
problem
team is
is,
bad or the
even if
players
you are,
bad?
the player says that the team is bad because the team is probably worse than them. I agree with that. I
Okay.
even agree with that, right? Like some of these players are really good. Some of these players are like, I think were very, very good talents. But the problem is, what is the alternative?
Yeah.
You are not going to be picked up by the number one team because they don't care. They're the number one team. They don't need to take a risk by bringing like some random wild like South Asian like guy into it, right? You're
Yeah.
not going to be picked up. You're not going to make the same run with like your domestic team because you have like ping disadvantages and this and that and everything. If you're being given an opportunity to compete, even if it's in a worse team, you should go ahead and do it, assuming that the future is better there. But what a lot of these players say is that, oh my God, no, like this guy's bad, or oh, I'd rather play with my friend, or oh, I'd rather do this. It's complacency. It's they have the hunger, but they don't have the hunger to do the things that are boring and annoying and suck. That's the difference, right? And there isn't like a financial incentive there either. So where you're talking about the sports, there is a huge financial incentive. Right?
Yeah.
You're going to the Norwegian team, the Netherlands team, this that. You're getting paid like hundreds of thousands, of, if not more than that, of pounds and euros and dollars. But over here, you're like, oh hey, like why? A lot of these guys will just say, oh, why should I take like
Risk.
$800 a month to go play with like this garbage team, or why should I not take any money at all? I'd rather just play with my friends, right? And they
Yeah.
are a garbage team, but that's a team that's practicing. That's a team that's gonna get you like scrim access.
That's
That's
a
a team
team
that's
where
gonna
like
maybe
five
give you
people
boot
have the
camp.
same bloody mindset. Like you
Yeah,
want to win, you
exactly.
want to get
They
better.
they while in comparison over here, you're looking at teams which are like, oh hey, they're all like, sure, they're maybe having fun. And in the same way, I can tell you for on a like lower scale down level, ego will kill players.
Yeah.
Um, I know for a fact Poki, who is coaching God's Rain right now,
Yeah.
Poki refused to play in any Pakistani team because he thinks Pakistanis are bad. And he's right, they are bad. And they are like quite bad, to be honest, like after all of the players like quit and everything. But Poki refused to play with them for like ESEA leagues and everything, whatnot. And the issue with that comes is if he had played with like ESEA with the Pakistani team for like a year while he was not completely teamless, he would have probably suffered like mentally to some extent. I'll 100%, but he would have gotten to ESL Challenger League. There would be no
Okay.
questions about it. They like if you're trying for a year, you're gonna get in. If you're getting the top players in Pakistan or India or whatever, you're gonna get in if you're trying for a year. And then after that, maybe you have opportunities ahead of that, right? So the really annoying year-long grind of having to play with people who suck, are really annoying, and are probably not of the same mindset of you. That's what he wasn't willing to do. And now he's a coach in God's Reign.
I mean, that just goes to show. I mean, it is the incentive. It is about even like personal preference. I think so. It's mainly. I think so. It's mainly become a personal preference thing of people just being like, you know what, I'm comfortable here because I've heard that too many times. Be it any game at this point, when you have an opportunity, they're like, no, I feel much comfortable over here. And the one thing which I do not like, which I'm going to be blunt over here, is when players are like, yeah, you know what, we're going to stick in India. Like recently, I saw a LFT post now. I saw this LFT post and like open to offers all around Southeast Asia. I was like, you are not going out of India. Who are you trying to fool? Who are you trying to fool? I'm like, what do you expect me, a fan of yours, to be like, hi, no, this guy might be doing it. He might do the incredible. He might go to a team on Malaysia or Singapore because they speak English. You're going to get paid a bit more, like 10-20% less. Fine. But you're going to take it. No, he's not. He's going to get offers from Indian teams because they're ready to spend the buck and be like, yeah, the supply and demand situation. Whereas,
But also, like
literally,
Indian teams are also just like so stupid in how they spend, right? So you like if you're spending money and you're getting,
yeah,
you might as well get some imports as well. What imports are you getting? Um, with all due respect to you, Suraj, like I think you guys had Gump and Enable on your team,
No,
right?
that wasn't us. We had
Who was that?
Musu and Inhuman.
Okay, sorry, Musu and Inhuman. Musu, by the way, no ESL Challenger League experience before that. Now he's playing in ESL Challenger League on -72C, and they're like, I think they're last place,
damn.
and they're just losing everything, right? These how okay, Reckoning is a cheap org. I know that. Like I know Suraj can't say that. I know you probably can't say that. Reckoning is a cheap org. They don't want to spend a lot of money. That's fine. I think that's reasonable. But then what about the other orgs?
Hogs
Why
were
are the people you're getting like Ruffleco and Wom, whoever the God,
Yo, man.
let me
Will.
yeah. Sorry, I don't remember like the exact names, but Ruffleco. Why is Revenant getting Gump and Enable? Gump actually ended up playing well, by the way. But even so, who was Gump before this? Gump was no one. Gump was on the fourth best Australian team.
okay.
If you're spending the money, why are you getting Gump and Enable? Again, Gump played well,
Yeah.
but you are spending money. Revenant has money.
I can chime
Right?
in on this, not for Revenant side, but on the input side as to why like okay, I'll be fair. I've tried out a bunch. I've gone through like probably 9 or 10 different players from different regions. Because when I heard the tournament was happening, like I decided myself that either it was going to be the old Redemptions roster or it's going to be with two imports. Because why would we not utilize the opportunity to get better
Yeah.
players into
Yeah.
into our team, right? And we had our constraints or whatever, and we tried to work around that. All right, fair enough, well and good. But having approached a bunch of different international players, every single one of them, no one wants to move to India. They just don't want to move to India. That's one. Two,
Like, was
the
what was the
money is
reason
not
to
good
not
enough.
move to India? Wait, I'll just pinch you.
The
Like,
reason
was
we're
it
not
just like
moving to India is we don't want to live in India. I can
okay?
tell you because
Exactly.
they've like
It's it
obviously
is that.
Suraj probably doesn't want to say that, but I tell you I've literally had this
they
conversation three
have a
months ago.
very they have a
Okay,
very demeaning kind of picture of like what they think about India and all of
fine.
that. But then when they actually come over here, they're like, "Oh, holy shit, this is completely different. This is not what we expected, right?"
Yeah.
Because this is something Musu also said. Like Timur was like, uh, "Big bro, like when I came here, I don't expect. It's different. It's different." I'm like, "Dude, of course. Like we're not a backwards country, dude. Like we're a country
They're just
that's getting a shit
developing.
ton of revenue, and we are
Yeah,
developing, right?
I
And you're
mean
living
Indian.
in." in a highly planned city in Navi Mumbai, which is like
Yes.
really, really
Like
good.
India and Pakistan both have the same thing, in my opinion, which is like a lot of it is backwards. Like let's not be
Yeah,
wrong. That's what developing a developing country is.
yeah,
But then if you're going to the major cities, you're fine, man. Like it's a great life to live.
It is.
Especially if you're having everything paid for, everything planned out for
yeah,
you, right?
exactly.
So because even I'm sure even in Mumbai and whatnot, there's probably like some shady parts, or there's probably some like dodgy parts, or some parts that like
There
kind
But
of
are,
that's
suck.
every
But
metropolitan city.
but
yeah,
yeah, the point is you are being taken around and you are helped to avoid everything. Like you are being your hand is being held for you, right?
yeah,
Like you're getting the best
exactly.
of it.
No, I mean, even in
But
Mumbai, it's like you go
I will
Mumbai
say I think that's a failure of the orgs again, right? Like if you aren't
to
able to
market.
sell
Yeah,
like this, like right, like if I'm in the orgs, I show okay, this is where you're going to be living. I'm going to give you like a full video call. If it's a particularly good player and I want to sign them for a long time, I'm going to fly them in. Be like, fly in, look at this is the food you're going to be having. Like everyone speaks English in these communities. This is the entertainment options that you're going to have. There's like Mumbai has a very good stand-up comedy scene, stuff like that, right? There's
different
different
things.
things that you can do over here,
Yeah,
right? And you only have to live here for 4 months a year. Other than that, you're going to be abroad. What we're going to do is we're going to have a boot camp in Thailand for 2 months a year as well, for like whenever it's time to play stuff like ESL Challenger League playoffs. Like if you are planning out for 2 years, like what you said, but the point is, it's a large investment that they put in to be like franchises, and you shouldn't, if you are planning out for 2, 3, 4 years, however many like the franchise years are, um, you should be planning out in a way where like you can actually sell this vision to your players. And unfortunately, Oryx didn't do that. And again,
And
Reckoning doesn't have that money, right? So I don't expect Reckoning to do that. But people like Revenant and VLT and Enigma are supposed to, right? Like that's what I know about them.
and the other thing is like, to be fair, like okay, this from the player's POV, right? So
yep,
this is probably one of the reasons. This is one of my reasons for like not wanting to continue to play, right? So it's like, what advantage do I get for playing for an org and not playing for one? I
yeah,
it's more disadvantageous for me to play for an org in my personal situation for how my finances work and stuff like that. For me personally, it's like I need to spend more time if I'm part of an org doing a lot of other things, which I necessarily don't need to do if I just do my corporate. I still have time to spare. I still get my weekends off. I can still put in the same amount of effort that I was doing to participate in the game. And if I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it. I still go back to my social life and whatnot. And the other thing is like, okay, 3 months, the past 3 months on season, right? Tournaments are happening. Skyesports, 8 teams, orgs have come
yeah.
up and all that. Where are they now? That's
All are
my question.
disbanded.
Where are they now?
Most of them are
Everyone's
disbanded.
disbanded. Like why?
Yeah,
Why? Like I'm like
Even though
why?
the
Like
next year this is supposed to come back, right? Like that's
the
that's the thing. What are the
Skyesports.
orgs doing?
So you're just gonna come in. Look, so org sustainability right now is more like, okay, we don't want to players, we don't want to pay players for all this time that they're over here and whatnot. So when the tournament happens, we hire them. Freelance contractors, players, freelance players, hire them, make them play. Tournament's done. The players are also done.
Yeah, again,
In the
just to
meantime,
remind,
they just play their
li-
open tournaments and
like
qualifiers and whatnot.
these orgs were trying to go, and when Souvenir was announced to have like a Pakistani qualifier, these orgs were trying to get a Pakistani team for like a month and a half long contracts.
wow.
Again, I'm not going to say which org, but like that's
Yeah,
just stupid. That's really stupid.
yeah.
Why are you doing that?
The
Yeah.
thing for somebody who's just been like, I'll just say this: I've been in esports now for like like I'm going to be completing 2 years in December as a I started as a writer, and for me to see these contracts when you compare to other sports, it's like, hi, yeah, we have a 6 month long deal, we have a 3 month long deal. I'm like, does that
6 months is
make?
pretty good, David. Honestly, 6 months is legit.
Yeah,
So
I wonder. I'm like, I am used to hearing 4 years, 5 years, 3 years, and then you
In
hear
all
six
fairness,
months.
okay, look, in all fairness, like internationally as well, esports shouldn't have very long contracts. It doesn't make sense for players because esports, you need to think of it this way: traditional sports, 4 years of a traditional sport will be equal to 1 year of esports as far as career length is concerned,
Yeah, true,
right?
true, true.
So like that's not that big of a deal. I think 6 month contracts are fine. I think 3 month contracts are just stupid if you're looking to build for the long term, but otherwise they're fine. It's whatever. This is not a major deal. I think contract minutia is really like the smallest factor of whether something will be successful or not in its infancy.
I mean, it just makes me wonder because the thing is, we see 3 year like not three. I mean, in what do you say in Valorant per se, in that main league they have 3 year contracts. They've got players on like 4-year deals, 3-year deals, which is surprising for me to see because like the first time I'm watching it happen in esports, but maybe because the finances are there. But
I mean,
contracts,
so the reason for that is because League of
buyouts,
Legends historically has had well buyouts, yes, but like I mean, Counter Strike has 5-year long contracts, for
yeah,
example, for certain players. But League of Legends historically has had a lot of player input without formal unionization in the North American region,
yeah,
and that player input has led into a lot of very favorable terms for players being built in. So things like maximum terms being 3 years. So I think Riot does not allow any team to have more than a 3-year long contract,
yeah,
which is kind of whatever. Similarly, like there's a lot of like clauses that are built in because over time players have requested them or they've become standard because of like high salaries and stuff like that, right?
yeah,
So the difference is also if for example Reckoning was paying Suraj $20,000 a month, they probably want to guarantee that okay, he's going to be with us for a long time, right? Because 3 months of $60,000 and he's just like, well, my contract's over, I'm going to go over to Revenant now, right? So it's also about the amount of money that's being put into it. Otherwise, even for Suraj, it makes zero sense to
Seriously.
sign like a 15,000 rupee contract for a year long, right?
yeah.
Like who cares about that? That makes literally no difference. All it does is just trap him in a contract. He's smiling because he's been offered a 15,000 rupee contract for a year long. But yeah,
I mean, it is what it is. But I mean, I want to even get over this part because I think so. This is one thing with the new game being out, like new game, which is the I guess it's like majorly some of the mechanics being changed and other in game stuff which has been changed. What is the future scope for CS2 in Asia, in Southeast Asia, in Pakistan, and India? What could we expect? Like, take a year from now, in 2024, when we are reaching over there, what should we be expecting that could happen? You have made predictions in the past, so I'm going to take it from you. What do you feel, T?
I don't think
On
it
business
like
predictions. Let's go.
Yeah.
I think a year is too short of a time span, personally.
Okay.
Um,
Game probably doesn't even get stable within a year,
yeah,
in my
the
opinion.
game probably gets stable by like July next year, in my opinion.
Okay.
Um,
So take
Maybe
2025. Catch
but
2025.
late
Change the
March.
question to
but
2025.
so the second part of the year is gonna have a major in China, next year.
Okay.
So we're gonna see more of a push from Valve into Asia to some extent. I know Asian TOs are gonna start getting into it soon as well, not like on a massive scale, but on a decent scale. And CS is going to be like a good tier 2 level esport pretty soon, I think by 2025 in Southeast Asia. And that's all you can ask for. And in Asia in general, right? Like whatever happens in South Asia comes down to whatever happens over the next year. I don't know if Sky is going to last. I'll be honest. I don't know if it's going to survive because 1,800 viewers, I don't care what anyone tells me. 1,800 viewers for an event that's got, over $100,000 of prize money is just not enough. And I don't see these teams putting in their due diligence. I don't see these teams putting in the effort that they should be if they're a franchise partner. And maybe that's because Sky hasn't put that into their agreement. Maybe that's Sky's fault as well. But the point is, overall, if the players aren't putting in the effort, the teams aren't putting in the effort, I can't see Sky surviving.
I mean,
And if Sky doesn't,
I can speak up on the like Sky allowing us to participate in other tournaments or not tournaments. It is more like you can, but just don't play under the brand name, like the org name. So we were allowed to
why?
participate.
Why?
We were.
Yeah.
I have no clue why. Like this.
Hey there, Draco from the future. I just want you to know that the next part of the podcast is a little bit dicey because what information was told to me after the podcast was recorded. This podcast was taken back in 22nd of October. So it's an old episode, but what was told to me after that was conflicting with what has been stated over here. So just do take it with a pinch of salt, and I hope you realize it. It is on me that I should be more educated on this, but I went into this podcast trying to learn more, so apologies on my side. I should be well researched in this part. And yeah, getting back to the episode. I hope you are doing good. And yeah, more content coming out soon.
This is just what I was told. So when I was asked, can we play this tournament? We were initially told we can't participate any tournaments, and I was like, okay, fine.
I never
That's
Uh,
seen
really
that.
stupid.
all right. At that time, there was no dates for the qualifiers and whatnot, so I was like, okay. Uh, I'm
Okay,
here on
that's
LAN for 3 months. Just focus. It's a 1 month LAN now, and it's not even a LAN. It's become
Yeah.
online. The LAN's only going to be playoffs. So I was like, you know what, fine, okay. We're focusing on this tournament. Let's focus on this tournament. And then when the other qualifiers
okay.
started popping up, I was like, can we register? And they were like, we the owner asked, and the owner was very much in support of us playing other tournaments because we were very enthused about it. And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, you can, as long as you register under a different name. But at that point of time, when the import players, the Russian players, got to know that we can register for the tournaments, they just
Yeah, then
wanted to
by
play
the
with
way,
their
every
team.
tournament isn't gonna come. Like no team player is gonna want to come and play either. That's just really stupid. Like if that is an actual rule that Sky made that
It
teams should
was
not be allowed to play underneath their
it
name,
was
that's
announced
the
as
It was
well.
stupidest
just
thing. That's like the most. Oh my
it.
god, that's like the most idiotic thing I've
I
ever
don't even
heard
think it's a rule.
from South Asian
I don't know
esports.
if it's a rule. I don't know if it was like a
It
general
was told.
disagreement
It
where
was
they just
told.
shook hands and they were like, all
Yeah.
good.
Okay,
But it is just told.
I don't know if you guys
That's
have
just
friends
what
in
I was told.
Sky. You can tell them that I'm saying this if you don't want to use like your own. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
I
Like
questioned.
Nah,
I
go
immediately
for it. You know
questioned.
what? You're
this
talking to
is
Shiva right now.
okay.
Message to Shiva. Let's go.
Okay, just a message to
Directly to
Shiva.
Shiva. Now let's
Okay,
go.
wait.
Sure.
Yeah, go for
Okay,
it.
listen. Here's the thing. Viewership increases at success of teams. Tournament organizers cannot affect viewership beyond a particular standard. That's true for every single example that we've seen in esport. Look at Flashpoint. Flashpoint had the best production value we have ever had in Counter-Strike history. At that point, it didn't get the viewership. Flashpoint had Brazilian teams playing in it, but they weren't the best Brazilian teams. You got good Brazilian viewership, you didn't get good English viewership. You do not get the largest amount of interest unless teams are having success. If you stop teams from playing other tournaments, you can make rules, right? Where you can say you cannot play a tournament match on the same day as you have like a Sky match.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's different. As long as that's not like coming into like major qualifiers and major events and things like that. But overall, the more opportunities for viewers to watch, the more opportunities for rivalries to be built as far as domestic tournaments is concerned, and the more opportunities for viewers to respect the level of Counter-Strike is what matters. Because I'll let you know right now, hundreds of thousands of people from Pakistan. I don't know the numbers. I do know the numbers from India, but I can't say. Hundreds of thousands of people from Pakistan watch Counter-Strike matches every year, like online. The conversion rate from that is what really matters. Like at the end of the day, you are trying to convert Indian fans and Pakistani fans, depending on what tournament it is, and like South Asian fans in general,
Yeah.
to watch your matches from watching ESL, right? The same people who I see tweeting all about IEM Sydney should be watching the domestic matches when they happen. They're not going to watch that unless you've got better players. Better players are not going to come unless you can actually let them play in every qualifier. Similarly, they're not going to watch that unless you've got teams that are actually competing versus the Tylus, the Rare Atoms, the new Happies of the world. And that's not going to happen if you're stopping them from competing. Also, your teams are going to suck, right? Like, why would these top Asian teams scrim your teams? Why would your teams become good? Why would your teams ever make it to a major? Your teams will just absolutely suck if you're not playing other tournaments. This is a really stupid rule. Counter-Strike is not built on a closed circuit based on just one country. But speaking of which, by the way, it is just one country. I know you've got like, almost 2 billion people in it, but I've never seen one country produce enough players to populate 8 teams. Right, so
Yeah.
you have to have imports coming in. No country in the history of Counter-Strike has had 8 competitively relevant teams, and especially if they're only like playing amongst themselves. So you need imports to come in. Imports aren't going to come in. You're completely compromising your own scene if you don't let these guys play other tournaments. That makes no sense to me whatsoever.
I mean, it makes me wonder as well. Like you just said it, and there's something which is there. Maybe it's accessibility. Maybe it's other things which are there, which is stopping there to be like more. How do I put it? There
Come
should
on,
be
like
more.
accessibility, and if you go back to the ping argument, like I have a solid argument in my team as well, right? Like when we played the TEC Pune qualifiers, we had two players, Salo and Braille. We played on Mumbai servers. Salo played on 170 ping and he was the top frag. Uh, he's Russian. He plays for GR Gaming. Braille
Yeah.
played on 120 ping and he was at like 13 or 14 kills or whatever, which is not like 2 kill or 3 kill bad. Like I mean, of course, this player is gonna perform way better on 5 ping, but he's not playing
Also,
bad,
like,
right?
I
And
don't know
we
what you
still
mean by
won the game. We
accessibility.
I
qualified for
meant
the we
accessibility
qualified.
to PCs. I'm so sorry. I should confirm over here. Accessibility to
Yeah.
PCs is what I meant because I mean, I'll say this one thing which I know for a matter of fact is gaming parlors is a thing which is seen a lot in, how to put, in the metro cities. It's very highly common to have gaming parlors to play around and stuff like that. But as you go a bit further away, like even from Mumbai, even if I go to a place to Aurangabad, if I go to one corner, Aurangabad, which is like a city over here, very well known. But I go to a corner and I
Yeah, if
want to
you if
get,
you take the
Okay,
hierarchy down one more level, then
yeah,
but
it
listen,
goes really
look,
bad
I
because there's,
I get it, but I get it, but who cares? It's
yeah,
not
I
about
mean,
getting new people into the game. It's about getting people who are already watching
yeah,
international Counter-Strike to watch domestic Counter-Strike instead.
yeah,
Right? Like that's the true conversion for any national scene in South Asia and Southeast Asia and Asia in general, there are a lot of people who watch Counter Strike that will not watch domestic CS because it sucks.
Yeah.
They're bad players, right? Like
Mm.
Muzu was doing well in the league when he's on the bottom ESL Challenger League team, right? And that doesn't mean that he's a bad player inherently, because I know that he's not practicing with minus 72 C and whatnot, right? Because he was signed to Reckoning and whatnot. That's fine. But my point is, generally speaking, the same. You need better Counter Strike. You need evidence of better Counter Strike. You need better rivalries. You need better narratives. That's not built from just playing in Indian tournaments. That's not built from just playing in Sky tournaments.
Yeah, I mean that
Great.
that is a very nice answer, because in my eyes, I feel like whichever event is there, just go for it. Play in your own country, like whatever is there. Try to make an adventure, because even as somebody who's a journalist, I'm a journalist. I'm doing this out of passion because I enjoy podcasts. But even for me, I realize that I have to go to events. I have to put my own money in, which I'm earning, to be able to go to an event and be like, here is my face. This is Mr. Draco Rex. I have a podcast. It is a passion which comes for any job, that you have to be whatever major event, be it big
Absolutely.
or small. You have to go to a LAN. You have to just show your face. You show your face, and people who are there, they will recognize you, and that would be that. If you cannot do that, it is like, I mean, it is more like that. And yeah, I mean, coming towards the end, this is going to be the longest podcast episode I've done till now. But I'm going to say this: I want to like
Oh, by the
another
way,
five
Suraj,
minutes.
he did tell me, oh, it's going to be a 30-minute long episode. I'm telling him, I'm like,
Yeah.
30 minutes.
Yeah, because
Dude,
no, I mean,
you get me and T on a podcast, and you expect us not to
yeah,
talk for
the tea is
like
just
2 hours?
flowing. It's
Like,
just
what?
flowing. I'm like, give me all the knowledge, because for me, at this point, I've learned so much. And whoever's watching this, I know a lot of people who are watching this are like people who own Instagram accounts, who do like this esports thing, and they put like about mobile gaming and other gaming and stuff. So they have, which is meaning like we are hitting the right demographic. People who want to learn, they are watching this, and good for you.
Okay, so
Thank you
what
so
you're
much.
saying is, please don't cancel me for the accidental Indian accent. I promise that was my actual accent.
It's okay, yaar. You're dil se Indian only, pre 1947.
Yeah,
Oh, I don't. Now you're getting me cancelled in the country I live in.
It's okay. I'm only
I mean,
kidding.
no, I mean, the point being is here. So people like concluding this. I mean, I would just like to ask this is like, is there, because I come from a place of like, I'm a hopeful person, from a person who played 1.6 on his brother's computer, to be like, wow, what is this? Like all the mods playing in like random maps, being wondering like,
Zombie modes.
yeah,
Yup.
exactly.
Yup.
Pool
I've
party.
seen. Yeah, dude, there was this one thing I remember where we were like in a house, and like you could go to random corners of the map. You're very small miniature humans, and
D
that's what like
underscore rats.
I
I
Rats.
think.
think so. Yeah,
Yeah,
rats.
D rats.
See,
Rats. Yup.
exactly. Like that was where I
Dude,
began, and
you
I
took me down. You took me down a memory lane, dude.
yeah, exactly.
This
That was
is
where I
crazy.
began playing, and for me, that's where like gaming was like, wow, what is this? And now I come over here after being in the industry and just be like, what happened when you got so much power? Like, there's a thing about like even content creation. Like, take esports has two sides of it, which is content creation and the players. As a content creator, there's so much you can do in Counter Strike, which I was like, we were watching the show match, my friends and I, and I'm seeing chickens, and I'm like, and players. Then there's an anti-gravity thing where players are just flying in the air. I'm like, you have the opportunity to create so much content, like just make fun, interesting content, but even that is not being explored, and it just baffles me. You're given the opportunity, you're given the
These
space.
KZ servers used to be Phil, and they're not anymore. There's only like one or two pro KZ players who are actually on the server, and everyone's just it's just bots filled on the server. Like I remember like back in 2017-18, I hop on a KZ server, it's full. And coming to this, Sandman, Temper, players I've played with, they don't know how to surf. They have 8K hours of game.
Really?
They can't surf. I'm not I'm not fucking with you guys. I roast me and Ghost, we roasted the shit out of them for such a long time. And it's not like I'm even that good mechanically in movement. Ghost is really good mechanically movement wise, so he gets to say all of this shit. But these guys can't even surf. Like overpass, be shot, the fast strafe, like they're not able to do it. I'm like, guys, there's no fucking way, dude. And this is what it's come to, right? Like players used to explore other things within the game, all these other
Yeah,
modes. They used to be competitive in all these things and get good at it, and then it used to translate into their in-game skill. But I don't see a lot of players doing it now. Like I don't see any players working on movement practice, strafing practice, or like I mean pre-fire exists, but other things like shadow mapping and all of that stuff. So there's always that, right? There's such a long room to improve. It just depends on what you wanna.
improve
at the
on
end of
and
the day,
how
I
much
guess.
you are passionate about. I mean, yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, for somebody who has seen like, I mean, I don't hope that BGMI goes away again so that CS2 can rise up, because that will be another collateral damage,
Manifested. Team
which
manifested, dude. Let's go.
if
I'll
that
email Modi, don't worry.
I would rather want, like, as a fan, I would just want, to be honest, like multiple esports to be there so that people can just try it out. Like, just go to a gaming parlor, just
Look,
enjoy it, just communicate. But I mean, yeah, I mean, concluding this, I would just like to ask one thing. If we somehow have, like, if the ESL Challengers League, actually there are Indian teams in it, there are Pakistani teams in it, there are teams from other countries as well in Asia, and they get better and they get good, could we see like the rise? If I'm being honest, it's a very cliche thing to like the comeback, but could we actually see like more players playing in, being better, and just like a healthier ecosystem per se? Because I don't know if it's right or wrong to say that CS has a chance to have a healthier
sorry,
ecosystem than Valorant.
look, Draco, I'm just like really confused because you're painting such a doom and gloom picture. All
It
I've
is.
literally told you, I know it's not. I've told you
Okay.
are saying that there are tournaments happening everywhere. There's
Yeah.
small events popping up all around India. There's like this massive league that you guys have. There's 8 teams that are supposed to field rosters that are paid rosters. Like I'm I am and Suraj is telling you that okay, just do the bare minimum. Like the
Yeah.
bare minimum's easy. This isn't like, oh, is there a world where Doctor Strange can come in and tell us the one possibility? This is probably going to happen. Is it
Okay.
going to be the biggest game? No, I don't think so because frankly, I don't think that takes like actual effort. That doesn't take the bare minimum. If the
Okay.
bare minimum happens, it's probably going to be a good tier 2 title. That's it, and that's fine. It doesn't have to be like BGMI levels. It doesn't have to be even like the peak of Valorant levels because Valorant is going to slowly decline. I don't think it's going to die, but I think CS and Valorant will both end up being in like a
Different
decent
category.
tier 2 space where there's
Yeah.
going to be like probably 4 to 6 teams that are salaried and that are trying to compete. That's a great space for any scene to be. What else do you want?
Touche. Suraj, any concluding thoughts before we end this? Because honestly, I feel like I have painted a like what has been I have like painted like a flag. Like, yeah, I am terrified, but what do you feel?
I mean, this. I mean, personally, like I chase competition. I like to thrive where uh, players are way better than me, and I like losing. Like it sounds very weird, but the more you lose, the more you
We
learn.
can tell.
That's how I feel. Oh, shut up.
Shit, me,
That's how I
man.
feel about it. That's how I feel about it. But
Yeah.
but then at the end of the day, like you want to get better, like go look for it. Go look to play against better players and learn from them. Like I don't feel like it's an ego issue right now in the current state. I don't think a lot of these players who are on the top have an ego issue right now. It's more like they're not looking for these they're not specifically looking at these tournaments and going, oh, we should be playing this and all that, which is what they should be doing. And over time, you're not going to get better in a month or two, or like even
Yeah.
6 or 7 months down the line. It's going to take you a year, it's going to take you probably 2 years. But then after those 2 years, you're going to be like a completely different player. And maybe your team's also going to be completely different. Stick to one team, find 4 players who have the same bloody mindset as you and are willing to go the mile, and you'll get there.
I mean, to anybody who's listening to this and have reached at this point, we would just say one thing is that play at every LAN. Just play at every LAN. Play in every tournament
And
that's
online
possible.
cups.
Online cups, the ESL. Try to
ACL
get the pass,
yes.
get it done, get sorted, and just play because there is opportunity for growth. It's not like it's like a shut system where like nepotism is going to come your way. It's not like any other sport where there could be external politics that's working. That's one thing which I like about esports is that if you are on the ranks, if you're on the best, there's nobody who can deny that you have made it or that legitimately or like somebody can like, oh no, he's not good. If you're in the top 5, nobody's going to tell you you're not a good player. So there is a place if you want to get a better player, you want to be a better player, just put in the effort. Put in the effort because it will take time. You'll have to get another job. This cannot be your primary thing. Get education, get another job, realize that you have to manage your time. But if you put in the effort for like a year or two, maybe put, I don't know how many few hours, like what, 3 hours a day or like 2 hours a day, I don't know. I think so. That would be ideal to just get yourself warming up, like when you're beginning. Maybe just maybe you can just make it to the top. And yeah, I mean, that's all for this episode because it's been quite an educational one for me myself to learn. I have learned quite a bit from this, and I will be making sure that there is another episode on this before the Sky event happens in December, because hopefully by then there are more events which we can see, more growth, and hopefully some better news and more events
And
from more
hopefully we
lands.
will be casting the event as well.
Hopefully,
can't wait.
hopefully,
Get
Uh,
online.
hopefully.
Get my boy one online event to cast, man. Like
Yeah.
you have the best caster in SA over here, and we're not even
You know
utilizing
what?
him.
You know what?
That's BS.
I'll just be blunt and honest. I will, whoever I can get in touch with, I will try my part to put your name in there, because I'm just like, okay,
Oh,
this.
dude, it's fine. Honestly, listen, I don't think I should be commentating any Indian events because I actually think having a person like having talent in person is really important to those events.
Okay.
I think online broadcast is a waste of time. But should Sky do any events in Thailand or UAE or anything like that, yo, boys, let's go. I'm in.
Hopefully, I mean, I know for a matter of fact, Shiva sees these podcasts, so I'm just gonna say that you know who to sign for the next event. That's all I'm going to end it with. So I hope you all
Sweet.
enjoyed it.
Joanna,
Th-
hi. Download the
I wanted to leave that at the very
Yeah.
end because I know, because I've met him. I mean, I'll tell this afterwards. But yeah, anyhow, I hope you'll enjoy this podcast. If you liked it, do like it, do subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you in the next
Sign
episode.
Suraj as a content creator so he's less unemployed.
Yeah, hire him. Hire this
That's
man.
unemployed and Counter Strike. Okay, my corporate life is going really well. Stop it.
Thank you so much,
Right.
and bye bye.
Yeah.